You've obtained it? Long Chen got right to the point upon seeing Zheng Wenlong. He didn't recall ever being so nervous in his life. I didn't fail your mission. Zheng Wenlong was also a bit emotional. He took out an elegant case and slowly opened it. Within it lay a fist-sized fruit. The fruit was dark red and had star-like spots. Through its exterior, they were able to see countless streams of energy flowing within it, giving off a very dangerous feeling. Long Chen, you should check to see if this is the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit that you were talking about, said Zheng Wenlong. Even Zheng Wenlong, with his years of handling all kinds of treasures, felt that this heavenly underworld vermilion fruit was more like a poison that would take a person's life. Yes, it's the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit. Brother Wenlong, you really helped me out. Even Long Chen's voice trembled as he picked up the case. Having obtained the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit, he could finally start condensing the Nethergate star. Don't thank me. It wasn't cheap to obtain this heavenly underworld vermilion fruit. It was a trade for 10 crystal cores from peak 12th rank magical beasts. Those 10 cores all contain dark energy. It's most likely very beneficial to Tian Xiezi. I'm afraid he'll be able to control the corrupt god ancient tower even better, and you? Long Chen shook his head, completely uncaring. Let him do as he pleases. As long as I have the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit, it's enough. But is Emon Yen still here or has he left? Asked Zheng Wenlong. He just left. What is it? Asked Long Chen, surprised by the question. So I was too late. I was going to warn him to be careful. The Blood Emperor's daughter, Xie Luocha, has sent out a death warrant for him. The entire world is looking for him now. Furthermore, he already has so many enemies just on his own. He might get exposed, said Zheng Wenlong. Long Chen suddenly recalled how the Blood Emperor had once been the overlord of the Ancient Family Alliance. Could it be that the Blood Emperor was related to why the Ancient Family Alliance had hunted down the Mo family for so long? However, Emon Yen hadn't mentioned it, so it wasn't appropriate for Long Chen to ask. Emon Yen had brushed over his fight with Shui Luocha and hadn't gone into any detail. Long Chen didn't know what he was thinking. He's already left, but he should be fine. Do you know the story between Mo Gate and the Ancient Family Alliance? Asked Long Chen. Zheng Wenlong told him a story. The Mo family and the D family were once loyal to the Blood Emperor. They had been the strongest pillars beneath the Blood Emperor. Later on, the era of the Blood Emperor passed. His descendants were supposed to continue his position, but while a bloodline might sometimes be strong, it also could decline. The Blood Emperor had been incredibly powerful, but of his descendants, Shui Luocha was the strongest. The rest only had an ordinary aptitude. As a result, Shui Luocha had been sealed, waiting for the great era to come. But even the declined Shui family possessed immense influence. They had continued their glory with the support of the Mo family and the D family. Later on, the Ancient Family Alliance was established, and the Shui family retreated behind the scenes, resulting in the Mo family and the D family jointly managing the Ancient Family Alliance. At that time, the Mo family gave rise to two amazing brothers, one named Hao Xing and one named Hao Qin. Legend was that the two of them had created a paragon art based on the Mo family's core techniques. The two of them had risen like shooting stars, their light almost eclipsing that of the Blood Emperor from back in the day. The experts of that time acknowledged them as the two existences with the highest chance of becoming a sovereign. It was said that the paragon art the two brothers created was able to transform heaven and earth. If used to its maximum potential, they could peer into the secrets of the heavens. For some reason, the two brothers of the Mo family vanished from this world. The D family then had a falling out with the Mo family, joining hands with the other powers of the Ancient Family Alliance to attack the Mo family. It was said that even the Shui family participated in that attack. There were rumors that said that at that time, the brothers had reached a bottleneck and been unable to break through, resulting in them setting their sights on a relic of the Blood Emperor. But they were noticed, and so the Shui family allied with the D family to destroy the Mo family for the transgression. The Mo family was fractured and beaten. Let alone restoring their past glory, they were hunted down by the Ancient Family Alliance for many years. This is all hearsay though, or perhaps I should say it's the information that the D family has allowed out into the world. For the true reasons, you would have to ask the Mo family's people, said Zheng Wenlong. Long Chen snorted. The Mo family's people wouldn't do something like that. Even an idiot would be able to figure out that the Mo family's sudden rise made the Shui family and the D family afraid. The Shui family couldn't produce any outstanding experts after the Blood Emperor and Shui Luocha. Unable to suppress the Mo family and being afraid of being replaced by them, they came up with such a ludicrous reason. Even their excuse was so bad that they couldn't come up with any details. The cultivation world is just like this. If you want to attack, you can make up any garbage excuse. Long Chen sneered. Back in the Phoenix Cry Empire, there had been countless open fights and hidden schemes. But now, he found that their scheming was far superior to the cultivation world. The cultivation world's schemes weren't even schemes. They were overt plots. Everyone knew that what was coming out of their mouths was lies, but they still believed them. If you were strong enough, then even the biggest lie in the world could become true. Even if there were countless holes, countless chances for people to question the story, people would rather believe the lie because doing so was profitable for them. As a result, facts and truth weren't important. What was important was profit. As long as there was profit, someone could be mute or deaf. That was already completely normal. That was why when Long Chen heard any so-called history, he scoffed at it. History is written by the winners, and the winners write history that suits them. They were usually praising themselves, and many times, the reality was far from what they wrote. No wonder Mo Nian doesn't mention this. When the hatred reaches this level, there's no point talking about it, said Long Chen. Although Mo Nian always acted silly, he was carrying a much heavier burden than others. That made him similar to Long Chen. Both of them couldn't be bothered to argue with others. Long Chen suddenly thought of the two figures that were in Mo Nian's manifestation. Were those two figures related to those two powerful experts from the Mo family? Long Chen, the large powers have started making moves. The corrupt path is invading the righteous path. The ancient races, the Xian beasts, the Bloodkill Hall, the ancient family alliance, they've all participated as well. The righteous path is now very stable, and this is all according to Pill Valley's usual plot. They'll sway public opinion and many people will point out that the source of all these attacks is you. You should be prepared for this, warned Zheng Wenlong. After fighting with Pill Valley for so many years, he was very familiar with their moves. In truth, this move of Pill Valley's was very amazing, and even if it was used 100 or even 1,000 times, they couldn't counter it. Every sect had a very complicated interior. When Long Chen was in the Eastern Wastelands branch Dao sect, there were 4 families managing it equally. The 4 families had constant conflicts. After all, every person had their own views and opinions. They couldn't possibly agree all the time. Pill Valley's hands had long since stretched into the righteous path sections. Chu Jianying had been in seclusion for too long, and when she came out, Pill Valley's infiltration had almost reached the bone. Long Chen had seen this all very clearly. The Martial Heaven Alliance was like a badly sick person. A simple cure did not exist. To recover, the only way was to cut out the corrupted flesh. That was the only way to remove the toxins. However, Chu Jianying had always been hesitant to do this, and Pill Valley noticed that, making the giant existence which was the Martial Heaven Alliance into a tottering old person. Yes, I'm already prepared. I'm not an evil person, but I'm not a good person either. If someone raises their blade against me to take my life, I won't care if they're being fooled, or if they've done good things in the past. I'll still kill them mercilessly. It doesn't matter who they are or why they're attacking. What matters is that I want to live. So I have no way of fighting shoulder to shoulder with the Martial Heaven Alliance, said Long Chen somewhat helplessly. That's a consequence of a person with no beliefs. With no morals or restrictions for themselves, they might do anything. Even magical beasts have a bottom line and know what respect and gratitude are. But those people will only be grateful or respectful for a while. It's very difficult for them to maintain it for any length of time. That's why people are the most frightening rather than magical beasts, said Zheng Wenlong. Zheng Wenlong took out 2 more precious medicinal ingredients and a few spatial rings filled with things that Long Chen had asked for. With Long Chen's help, the Martial Heaven continent's top resources had been gathered in the Huayan sect and were now slowly circulating. The resources that Long Chen had supplied were forcibly lifting up Zheng Wenlong's development. Zheng Wenlong said a few more words before leaving. He was currently extremely busy. As the high-grade market developed in the Huayan sect, the Dongfang family's business plummeted. Although the Dongfang family did have a powerful foundation, they didn't have as much variety in their treasures as the Huayan sect. Furthermore, the crystal cores of peak 12th rank magical beasts that Long Chen had brought back were shaking the continent. Those crystal cores had a variety of uses and had immediately drawn people over. Other than that, top-grade 11th tier pills had started to be sold by the Huayan sect. Pill Valley had them, but so did the Huayan sect. Moreover, the pills sold by Huayan sect had a fairer price and could be directly traded with no conditions. Even those sects with good relationships with Pill Valley were secretly doing business with the Huayan sect. One thing that the Huayan sect did that was very favorable to them was that they kept the business of their clients confidential. It didn't matter what sect or power was doing business with the Huayan sect, they all had secrets, but the Huayan sect would never expose them unless they had permission from their clients. That was why the Huayan sect had always been the most honest business on the continent. People never questioned their integrity. Once Zheng Wenlong left, Long Chen walked over to the seclusion area. Chu Yao, Tang Wan'er, and Yi Zhiqiu were still in seclusion. Their auras rumbled around them, and pillars of divine light shone down from the heavens, enveloping each of them. The divine light illuminated their peerless beauty, making every one of them look like pure and holy fairies. Their eyes were closed and they had their hands in a seal. Their manifestations were present behind them like masses of primal chaos. Within that primal chaos, light flowed around. Powerful pressure came from them. Fortunately, they weren't disturbed this time. They're all in a critical state. The consequences would have been disastrous. Unbeknownst to Long Chen, Meng Qi had arrived, standing beside him. Meng Qi, why aren't you resting? Your Yuan spirit needs to recuperate, said Long Chen. To block Kunpingzi's killing blow against Cloud, Meng Qi had sacrificed the original true feather of the blue-eye peacock. That was a weapon that she had refined for a long time. Part of her Yuan spirit adhered to it, so its destruction had injured her. Meng Qi shook her head. Perhaps the injury is making me jittery. I can't calm down enough to recover. I want to go out for a walk. All right, I'll accompany you for that walk. Long Chen grew worried. An injury to the Yuan spirit was complicated and would take a long time to heal. Holding Meng Qi's hand, Long Chen began to walk with her. Walking along a stone path, Meng Qi had her head down. Long Chen, why am I so useless? Even after awakening a heaven's soul manifestation, I'm still so weak. I can't help you at all. Meng Qi had originally thought that with a heaven's soul manifestation, she would be able to relieve some pressure off of Long Chen. However, she found that even with Cloud, she was unable to stop Kunpingzi. She had suffered a grave blow to her confidence. Foolish wife, have you forgotten your profession? You are a beast tamer. What beast tamer fights directly unaccompanied? Long Chen kissed Meng Qi on the forehead. In truth, you are a marvel just like Yu Zifeng. Yu Zifeng's sword Dao is a different path than ours, but his power even frightens me. You can be even more frightening than Yu Zifeng. Your potential is greater than any of us. Really? Meng Qi looked up. Of course. You're so smart, so how could I trick you? I'm not just saying this to comfort you. You've always been forced to fight using your weaknesses against your opponent's strengths. That's why I wanted you to go to the wild world. The magical beasts there are all ancient species. If you pull them into the myriad spirit diagram, you can turn them into your spirit beasts. You won't even need to fight yourself. You can wave your hand, and Kunpingzi will have his underpants beaten off of him by your army of spirit beasts, said Long Chen. Meng Qi finally laughed. How could it be so exaggerated? Long Chen smiled. It's not exaggerated. You're the one who has been forced to fight in a sullen way these past few years. You have the myriad spirit diagram but no house pets. You're too kind to directly capture some Xian beasts to be your house pets, so you're unable to unleash the full potential of the myriad spirit diagram or the power of a beast tamer. You're fighting like an ordinary soul cultivator. Once you go to the wild world, you can capture the magical beasts there as you wish. You just can't catch the Drake King. Once you're done, you'll have an army to fight for you, while you can eat and drink from the rear. The wild world's magical beasts had low intelligence. With the Drake King's help, those magical beasts wouldn't dare to resist. Some of those magical beasts were not even the Drake King's subordinates. Some of them threatened its position, so the Drake King wanted to get rid of them. Meng Qi was teased into laughter by Long Chen's words. Long Chen, thank you. Meng Qi leaned her head against Long Chen's shoulder warmly. The impact from this battle had been bitter for her, but Long Chen managed to lift her out of her gloom with just a few words. I should be the one thanking you. You're my mental pillar, giving me the will to press forward, said Long Chen. Whenever he felt lost or weary, seeing his hot-blooded brothers and gentle women made the mist and weariness vanish from his heart. Meng Qi, I'll help you recover. Once you're fully recharged, you can help me refine some pills. First I should refine some 8 bitters soul-nourishing elixir. Prepare yourself, that thing is really bitter. Long Chen pulled Meng Qi back into his room and directly started refining. In the Dongfang family's auction, he had managed to buy an infinite 8 bitters root that had almost been completely dead. Thanks to the primal chaos space, it had recovered, and Long Chen had planted it en masse. The infinite 8 bitters root was a special medicine from times forgotten. It was already extinct in the current world. Its greatest effect was raising a person's comprehension. However, other than that, it could be used as a supplementary ingredient in countless pill formulas. The 8 bitters soul-nourishing elixir was actually something that Long Chen had thought of himself. It wasn't a pill, so refining it was very easy and he quickly finished. There were 8 colors gathered together, and a strong fragrance came from it. However, upon entering her mouth, the intense bitterness made Meng Qi almost spit it out. She barely managed to swallow it. It really is bitter. This isn't the true bitterness of it. The bitter realm inside its essence was destroyed by my pill flame. If it wasn't, that bitterness would make a person want to die. It's not something an ordinary person can endure, Long Chen chortled. This infinite 8 bitters root that he had was not some withered old root like the one he had bought. Its medicinal effect was intense. He had diluted it by 100 times before allowing Meng Qi to consume it. It was worthy of being a legendary existence. Meng Qi had just consumed it when 9 lotus flowers appeared around her. The 9 lotus soul condensing pill connected to her soul was helping her absorb the medicinal energy to nourish her Yuan spirit. Looking at the 9 lotuses, Meng Qi smiled once more. This pill was constantly improving her power. Long Chen stood behind Meng Qi, sending his own spiritual strength into her body to help her recover. Meng Qi's spiritual strength had grown from a seed that originated from Long Chen's spiritual strength. Back in the day, he had saved her from the Wind Soul Pavilion. Her soul root had been destroyed, and Long Chen had endured the pain of having his own soul torn in order to rebuild a soul seed for Meng Qi. Their souls were connected. With Long Chen's spiritual strength pouring into her body, Meng Qi's Yuan spirit was rapidly recovering. Her Yuan spirit appeared on her forehead. It was a miniature version of her that was currently a bit dim. But with Long Chen's spiritual strength, the medicinal effect, and the 9 lotus soul condensing pill, it was recovering. A day and night later, Meng Qi's Yuan spirit finally recovered some of its original light. However, this was just enough to suppress her injury, preventing it from growing worse. In her current state, there was no way she could use spiritual strength to fight. However, this was enough. Like this, her full recovery was just a matter of time. Now she could help him refine pills. That was because she only needed to maintain a steady output, not like in a fight where her spiritual strength would sometimes have to fluctuate violently and sometimes be gentle. What kind of fruit is that? Asked Meng Qi when Long Chen took out the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit. Even now, he was still excited just by looking at it. This is the main ingredient for condensing my 6th star, the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit. Damn it, I'm too excited. My hand's trembling, cursed Long Chen. He had a sharp knife he used to cut open the fruit lightly. His movements were very slow, and his spiritual strength followed, locking in the juices. Long Chen was being as careful as possible, so careful that Meng Qi was also getting nervous. Black spots appeared inside the fruit as he cut it open. Those black spots were constantly transforming, giving off a strange feeling. Seeing their transformation, Meng Qi turned pale, feeling faint. Don't look at it. Your soul is still recovering. These death spots embody the Dao of Death, said Long Chen quietly. The Dao of Death? Meng Qi jumped in shock. This heavenly underworld vermilion fruit is toxic. It grows in lands of absolute death and will only grow when nourished by endless death qi. It's a very strange fruit. I would guess that this heavenly underworld vermilion fruit actually comes from the corrupt god cemetery. It is a priceless treasure to someone at the peak of the life star realm who has yet to comprehend life and death. Do you know why? Why? Because by eating it you can die in peace. Meng Qi was speechless. Why bother going to the trouble of eating it to die? Why not just smash your head into a wall and make it faster? It's true. By eating it you can die very quickly. But 7 weeks later, you will come back to life. The fruit is toxic, but the core is a priceless treasure that can cure it. So after consuming it, you will first die, then come back to life. You can truly experience the feeling of death. It can give someone an almost 100% chance of comprehending life and death, allowing them to attack the Nether Passage realm, said Long Chen. Just at this moment, Long Chen finished cutting it. A pearl-like object rolled out of the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit. This pearl-like object was the fruit pit of the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit. A thin layer of some sticky material covered it. The pit emitted a thrumming life force. When it rolled onto the wooden table, the table began to creak as sprouts grew out of the wood. What a powerful life force, exclaimed Meng Qi. Of course, without it, this heavenly underworld vermilion fruit would just be poison. Whoever ate it would die. Long Chen wiped off some sweat from his forehead. He had been intensely cautious just now. If he had broken the protection of that thin layer protecting the pit, all the fruit's value would be lost. What Long Chen wanted was the pit. He sent it to the primal chaos space and buried it in the soil. However, even after waiting a long time, there was no reaction. In the end, Long Chen carefully buried it in the core of the primal chaos space, a region of black soil. That was a land of death that swallowed any life forms. Within this land of death, the heavenly Dao tree in the middle was flourishing. It wasn't affected by the death energy at all. The heavenly Dao tree had heavenly Dao fruits littering it. Many of those were of rank 9 celestials and below. Long Chen couldn't even be bothered to pluck them. The curious thing was that even when he killed Empyreans with awakened manifestations, he didn't receive stronger heavenly Dao fruits. At the edge of the black and yellow soil was a black and white grass group. The grass had grown tall and was filled with life and death energy. This grass was the yin-yang immortal grass he had obtained in the yin-yang world. Back then the yin-yang immortal grass had cut off one of its roots for him, and now it had spread. Long Chen planted the fruit pit into the black soil, his heart clenching. This was a crucial ingredient to condensing the Nethergate star. Just one fruit was useless to him. He needed an endless supply of them. The fruit pit cracked. Some kind of white liquid flowed out of it and was absorbed by the black soil. That white liquid was filled with endless life force, but when landing in the black soil, it was like a drop of water landing in a desert, instantly vanishing. Long Chen stared closely at the fruit pit. After an incense stick's worth of time, all its life energy had faded. From its withered pit, black roots suddenly began to appear. It worked. Long Chen immediately became emotional. When the pit's life energy was fully exhausted, it actually began to grow once more. An hour later, the pit had become a tiny sapling. This sapling was pitch black and covered in sinister-looking spots. A success. Long Chen was delighted. He directly began to send his spiritual yuan into the primal chaos space, urging on the sapling's growth. He also took out a corpse of a magical beast and tossed it into the black soil. The black soil devoured the corpse. Life energy filled the primal chaos space. The sapling quickly grew to 3 feet. At that time, it finally began to split into 9 branches. It then began to flower, but then its growth clearly slowed down. He found that all the corpse's energy had been used up. Taking out a jade knife, Long Chen began cutting away the roots. Although the tree was still small, the roots were very long, stretching deep into the soil. He split one of the roots into foot-long segments and buried them into the soil. Seeing the roots also begin to shoot sprouts, he relaxed. Like this, he wouldn't need to wait until it bore fruit. He could directly plant a mass of them. In one go, he planted hundreds of the roots and tossed in a dozen magical beast corpses. Those magical beasts had been the spoils from the wild world. They were mostly at the 11th rank because Wild didn't care for 11th rank magical beasts. Now he only liked 12th rank magical beasts. There were also some magical beasts that didn't have much energy in their meat, so Wild didn't eat them. He preferred the physically powerful magical beasts. He had said that they could sustain him for longer. Seeing the heavenly underworld trees rapidly growing, Long Chen retreated from the primal chaos space, feeling comfortable after he no longer needed to keep an eye on them. As for the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit which he had plucked out, he took it and placed it into his pill furnace. He summoned his pill flame, beginning to refine the fruit's essence. As the heat inside the furnace rose, the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit began to dissolve. Black qi floated out of it, filled with death energy. Long Chen, can this really be used in medicine? Meng Qi felt a chill as she looked at the death mist. Her intuition told her that she absolutely could not touch it. It'll be fine. The heavenly underworld vermilion fruit is too toxic, so I have to expel a bit of it first until I can use the energy that I can endure. With other precious medicines mixed in, it can be consumed, said Long Chen. Meng Qi felt a natural aversion to the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit because she was a soul cultivator, while the fruit targeted the soul. After an incense stick's worth of time, the pill furnace had turned fully black. Long Chen hesitated. Theoretically, he should expel this toxic vapor now, but after thinking about it, he decided to leave this with Guo Ran. He took out a translucent pill and placed it on the furnace. As the pill passed over the furnace, the black qi was rapidly sucked inside. The pill instantly turned pitch black. This was also an antitoxin pill, but it was not to be used inside the body. Instead, it absorbed poison into it. Long Chen used 7 of those pills before he could absorb all the black qi. Now, a black powder lay within the pill furnace. That was the essence of the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit. Long Chen then took out 380 medicinal powders he had already prepared. He had only been lacking the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit. Long Chen looked at Meng Qi. Seeing her nod, he began heating up the furnace once more, slowly merging the medicinal powders. However, when they merged with the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit, the pill furnace shook. All the medicinal powders inside exploded. What? Meng Qi was startled by the failure. Long Chen looked at the powders. Swiping a hand across the powder, he tasted the result and immediately spat it out, cursing, "That bastard Tian Xiezi, he did something to the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit. He added something strange to it." There was no problem with the medicinal powders. However, the death energy seemed to have been broken by some kind of energy. He wasn't able to figure out what it was exactly for now. He hadn't expected Tian Xiezi to be so crafty as to have even tricked Zheng Wenlong. Even Long Chen hadn't sensed it until he tried refining it into a pill. In other words, if someone else had tried consuming the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit, there would have been no effect of comprehending life and death. They might instead lose their life. Tian Xiezi might have sensed something, and so he tried to con the buyer. "Fortunately, I only wanted the pit," snickered Long Chen. He had Meng Qi rest while he returned to the primal chaos space. The magical beast corpses had been consumed, and the trees had grown. They started to flower and bear fruit. However, the fruit was still too small and was a cyan color. The first one he had planted was a bit bigger, but there was still some time until it was fully ripened. Long Chen tossed more magical beast corpses, and the trees rapidly grew. On the border of the black soil and the yellow soil, The yin-yang immortal grass were also growing larger and even faster than the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit. Fortunately, the world trees had reached their peak and couldn't absorb any more life energy, or the growth of the rest of the vegetation would have slowed down. Although the yin-yang immortal grass was absorbing the majority of the life energy, Long Chen continued supplying more corpses. 2 hours later, the first heavenly underworld tree he had planted finally bore fully matured fruit. There were only 9 heavenly underworld vermilion fruits growing on it. If none of those 9 was plucked, no more fruit would ever be born. Furthermore, thanks to Long Chen's efforts in planting, he now had tens of thousands of heavenly underworld trees. Feeling that this was enough, he stopped planting. He plucked the mature fruit and returned to refining. This time, everything went very smoothly, but he still didn't dare to be the slightest bit careless. He could not make a mistake. The medicinal powder of the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit needed to go through 9 mergers. When the final one was completed, Long Chen closed the lid. He realized that his back was covered in sweat. He had been too nervous. This would decide whether he could condense the 6th star. Only then would he have the power to beat these heavenly geniuses. If Ziyan had not helped him stop the pill fairy, then with Evil Moon still not awake, he would not have been able to beat the Brahma divine diagram. Long Chen needed power to control his own fate. He didn't feel like leaving his life to others. If it weren't for Ziyan, he would have suffered a terrible defeat this time. That made him feel a strong sensation of crisis. He had to get stronger, and this Nethergate pill he was refining right now was his greatest hope. Suddenly, the pill furnace began to shake intensely. Long Chen's expression changed. These fluctuations came much earlier than he had expected. "Meng Qi, help me!" Long Chen shouted and slammed both hands down on the lid. Long Chen had given the refining process a high estimation of difficulty, but for the Nethergate pill to start acting up now signified that he would need to use up even more spiritual strength to refine it. The pill furnace rumbled as if some wild magical beast was trying to charge out. Meng Qi immediately sent her spiritual strength pouring toward Long Chen. With her help, divine runes appeared all over the pill furnace, like chains sealing it tightly. However, the chains had just appeared when black runes appeared as well. Like beetles, they began to bite and tear into the runic chains. "What damn thing is this?" Long Chen jumped, never having encountered such a thing. Those black runes were like cockroaches. They were only an inch long, but as they tore into his runic chains, he felt his spiritual strength vanishing from his control as if it was being consumed by them. "They are like corpse-eating insects," cried Meng Qi. "It seems so." Long Chen looked and saw that they were really similar. Suddenly, a sharp sound came from the pill furnace. A needle-like pain stabbed into Long Chen and Meng Qi's souls. Long Chen relaxed his hold, and the runic chains crumbled. The lid looked like it was about to be forced open. "I refuse to believe I can't suppress you." Long Chen furiously slammed the lid with his spiritual strength, once more sealing it. Flames surged violently as Long Chen quickened the refining process. The greater the heat, the greater the resistance. Shadows appeared on the pill furnace, and wailing sounds could be heard, starting to affect Long Chen. Boom. Finally, the pill furnace shook one last time and became silent. Meng Qi sighed with relief. However, Long Chen wasn't the slightest bit happy. He actually took out Evil Moon and slowly opened the lid. When the slightest opening appeared, a black figure shot out at Long Chen's head. Even Meng Qi, with her experience in many battles and dangers, almost screamed upon seeing that figure. It was a rotting corpse. Only its eyes glowed with a green light. A mouthful of sinister-looking white teeth reached toward Long Chen. Just as it rushed out, it was blown apart by a swing of Long Chen's saber. The black figure exploded, transforming into a foot-long bat that flew away. It had just started flying when Long Chen slammed it into the ground. It then finally transformed into a perfectly spherical medicinal pill that rolled on the ground. There was a sinister face inside the pill, howling crazily. "Why is this medicinal pill so ferocious?" asked Meng Qi. "A medicinal pill containing the Dao of Death exists to exterminate life. But this isn't really ferocious." Once I awaken its spirit and have it go through tribulation, it might rival an Empyrean, estimated Long Chen. Really? Do you think alchemy masters only know how to refine pills? Long Chen smiled. True alchemy masters can refine powerful pills that can actually cultivate. For example, your 9 Lotus Soul Condensing Pill. If it was a fighting-type pill, its power would not be inferior to your own. Then is it possible to refine a legion of medicinal pills? Asked Meng Qi. Long Chen shook his head and took out the other Nethergate pills that were inside the furnace. Awakening a spirit is difficult. It requires your own soul to be injected inside to guide it. Also, not all alchemists are able to refine top-grade pills. Tribulation pills are also the strongest. However, the requirements are too strict. Others don't have the ability to do such a thing, and I don't have the time. Long Chen examined the Nethergate pills. Only one was top grade, and the rest were middle grade. That had been done on purpose, as after all, this was his first time refining this pill. He didn't want to attempt a furnace of all top-grade pills just in case something unexpected happened. Long Chen crushed the only top-grade pill. A spiritual fluctuation spread as if the pill was emitting its resentment before its death. It felt like a curse. Long Chen, are you sure you want to eat this kind of pill? Asked Meng Qi worriedly. Long Chen bitterly smiled. He also didn't feel that this was something edible, but he had no choice. After he crushed the pill, he saw a small runic imprint at the core. Looking closely, he found that it looked like a skull. Meng Qi also saw it and she shook her head. I'm confident that this is a poison pill. Even though Meng Qi wasn't an alchemist, just based on her senses, she knew this was poison. Let's just refine another furnace of pills first. Long Chen once more heated up the furnace. This time, he had Meng Qi bring out the 9 Lotus Soul Condensing Pill as well. With their previous experience, the second furnace of pills was quickly finished. Long Chen had just opened the lid when multiple figures shot out. Long Chen slammed them down with Evil Moon and drew the pills into the primal chaos space to have Lei Long make them undergo tribulation. The Nethergate pills that had gone through tribulation were even more berserk. They actually attacked Lei Long, and Lei Long almost destroyed them in its rage. Long Chen hastily pulled the pills back. Having Meng Qi guard them, he looked at the pill in his hand. It was emitting endless death qi. Clenching his teeth, he popped it into his mouth. He had just swallowed it when it dissolved and spread throughout his whole body. Black qi surged out of him, followed by black runes that crawled over his skin. His life force was starting to be consumed. Meng Qi's heart clenched. Long Chen looked to be surrounded by death. A black mist appeared over his head. Long Chen's eyes were closed, and he was sweating. As his life force dwindled away, he found that in just an incense stick's worth of time, he would be poisoned to death. However, he believed in the pill sovereign's memories. There was no way that this pill could kill him. His body then turned numb and stiff, no longer listening to his orders. The death qi began to surge toward his mind sea, wanting to wipe out his Yuan spirit. Just as the death qi charged into his mind sea, the silent divine gate opened. The divine gate star blazed with light. Like a giant mouth, it devoured the death qi. As the death qi was sucked into the divine gate star, Long Chen's body quickly returned to normal. Seeing Long Chen survive, Meng Qi finally relaxed. The black qi around him vanished. Opening his eyes, Long Chen sensed his body, but he couldn't find the location of the 6th star. What is going on? Was there not enough medicinal energy? Long Chen swallowed a second pill. This time, he had refined 7 top-grade Nethergate pills. With the second pill, he found that his body had formed a resistance to the poison, and the divine gate star automatically absorbed its energy even before it invaded his mind sea. It directly sucked the poison all up. In just 2 breaths' time, the second pill's energy was consumed. Long Chen ate a 3rd, 4th, and 5th pill. Finally, after the 5th Nethergate pill, Long Chen felt the divine gate star unleash a blaze of light. His dantian heated up momentarily, and Long Chen immediately checked it out. He found that a whirlpool had appeared at the top of his dantian. The whirlpool was still very small and almost impossible to sense. The Nethergate star is actually located above my Dantian? His Dantian was crippled. His spirit root had been extracted, turning his Dantian into a land of death. Only the primal chaos bead existed at the center of his Dantian. Although the Nethergate star hadn't been condensed, the location was now determined. It was just unexpected for Long Chen. Long Chen consumed the remaining 2 Nethergate pills, but there was almost no reaction. He and Meng Qi refined 3 furnaces of pills in a row this time, making 20 Nethergate pills. After consuming 25 Nethergate pills, the whirlpool above his Dantian finally stabilized. It's over. This Nethergate star is another bottomless pit. I don't even know how many Nethergate pills it will take to condense a star, and then there are the 9 star transformations. How many years will it take? Long Chen wanted to curse. What kind of joke was this? Other people might die of joy after obtaining a top-grade tribulation pill, while here he was consuming them like candy, and it wasn't enough. Could the 9-star He-Gem body art be more of a con art? There was no way he could continue like this. If all he could do was refine pills all day, wouldn't he end up coughing up blood from the frustration? Just as Long Chen's expression was darkening, a message appeared in his mind that delighted him. He stared at the moon and star refining furnace with disbelief. Just now, a spiritual message had appeared in his mind. Although it was very weak, Long Chen was sure it had come from the moon and star refining furnace. Moon and star refining furnace? Is it really you? You're awake? Long Chen was ecstatic. The moon and star refining furnace was finally recovering. Another message came from it. It said that as long as it was given enough spiritual strength, it could automatically refine the pills for Long Chen. Will you be all right? You're very weak right now. Long Chen was worried. The moon and star refining furnace's item spirit had almost died. Even if it had been recently nourished by Long Chen, that was far from enough. This time, the moon and star refining furnace didn't reply. It began to suck the medicinal powders Long Chen had placed nearby inside of it. Meng Qi, give your spiritual strength to the pill furnace, said Long Chen. Meng Qi didn't understand, but she sent her spiritual strength inside. Long Chen also had Hua Long send one of its split bodies inside the furnace. One medicinal powder after another merged inside. Hua Long only maintained a constant output, while the pill furnace controlled the heat itself. The heat control was perfect, and the alchemy process was being done even faster than Long Chen had managed. The starry images around the moon and star refining furnace began to move. Meng Qi hadn't had to use up much of her spiritual strength before the refinement was finished. What shocked Long Chen the most was that the Nethergate pills inside were still in slumber. They weren't as fierce as when he had refined them. Too miraculous. Long Chen saw that the pills were all top grade and not at all inferior to his own refinements. He once more asked the furnace if this process hurt it, and it said that refining pills was beneficial to its recovery. It wanted to recover as fast as possible. Meng Qi calculated it. With her spiritual strength, she could refine over 10 furnaces of pills in one go. However, just then, the 9 Lotus Soul condensing pill flew out and the two began to communicate. Long Chen, we shouldn't refine pills inside. It says that we should refine in a spacious place. That way, the moon and star refining furnace can use its astral power better, and it can help me recover my spiritual strength faster. We can refine even more Nethergate pills then, said Meng Qi. By it, she was referring to the 9 Lotus Soul condensing pill connected to her soul. Long Chen directly left the room. He found a tall mountain in the northwestern part of the cloud, chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race's territory. From there, it was possible to see Chu Yao and the others in the distance. Meng Qi began to refine pills, while Long Chen consumed them. As he consumed more Nethergate pills, the whirlpool above his Dantian spun faster and faster. It quickly grew. At the same time, he felt the Fengfu, Alioth, Life, Fate, and Enlightenment Palace stars start to react as they formed some kind of connection with the whirlpool. The energy of the medicinal pills continued to be first absorbed by the Divine Gate star. It then underwent some kind of transformation before being sent to the Nethergate star. There seemed to be some kind of special connection between the Divine Gate Star and the Nethergate Star. However, Long Chen could not tell what that connection was. After 3 days, the whirlpool above his dantian had grown from the size of a sesame seed to 3 feet. He could feel a subtle transformation in the other 5 stars as well. At this time, Gu Yang came over to find them. Long Chen and Meng Qi ceased refining and eating pills. "Boss, what is going on?" Gu Yang had come straight from the wild world. The skyscraping world was mostly cut off from the martial heaven continent, so Gu Yang only learned now that their side had faced an attack over here. The transportation formation was not something convenient to use and required a few days in between uses. "It's fine. Our enemies' necks have gotten itchy. I didn't tell you because there's no need to bother." "How are things in the wild world?" asked Long Chen. "Everything's fine there. The devil race continues to attack, but the original devil race has gathered so many of their devil cores that their divine seals have grown incredibly powerful. They're more than enough to suppress even the stronger devil races. No one manages to leave alive. If they didn't leave a few of the devil race experts for us as training, we wouldn't even have a chance to fight," said Gu Yang. The original devil race's divine seals continued to grow stronger, while the Dragonblood warriors were also fighting happily, gradually coming to control the power of awakened Empyreans. "What about Guo Ran?" asked Long Chen. "He's finished with the armor and weapons. Xia Chen is in the middle of adding runes to them. They should be usable within 10 days, said Gu Yang. Gu Yang had tried out the armor and weapons. He found that his power doubled while using them. But more importantly, the Dragonblood warriors would be able to freely transfer energy between themselves thanks to the large formation linking them. "Good. We're going to be doing something big soon," said Long Chen, a chilly light appearing in his eyes. "Boss, I heard many bad rumors about the Dragonblood Legion on my way back here," Gu Yang said. "I know. They're definitely saying something about colluding with the original devil race and trying to destroy the Martial Heaven continent," said Long Chen. "The Martial Heaven Alliance's members aren't fully loyal. There are some accomplices inside telling them that smart people would leave the Alliance to avoid being implicated. I've long since gotten used to this play from Pill Valley. Let them be. It's not like we have time to prove anything. That would just waste our time and make us fall for Pill Valley's trap. But there are some idiots who have been tricked and started joining them," said Gu Yang irritably. He had seen quite a few on the streets shouting about Long Chen's sins. "Tricked? Not really. Most of them are well aware of the truth. They're not stupid. In fact, they think themselves clever for getting some extra profit out of this. It's fine. Why hate pitiful people? We just have to look after ourselves. Boom." Suddenly, the entire territory of the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race shook. A powerful pressure descended that caused Gu Yang's expression to change. He turned, ready to fight any enemies, when he was grabbed by Long Chen. "It's Wander." Long Chen saw a hurricane atop a distant mountain. It tore into the sky and blasted apart the clouds. "Wander's manifestation has awakened," exclaimed Meng Qi. The hurricane tore through space, leaving cracks in the void. It became a sea of wind blades. Within that sea of wind blades stood Tang Wana, looking unspeakably beautiful with her white dress and black hair dancing in the wind. The wind blades slowly faded, and the world returned to calm. Tang Wana opened her eyes. A windmill-like rune forest of wind blades appeared in her eyes, slowly spinning. Those runes slowly faded, and only then did her dress and hair stop fluttering. Tang Wana looked at Long Chen and smiled. Spreading her arms, she flew over like a breeze. Long Chen laughed and extended his arms to hug her. As a result, just as his arms closed around her, she vanished, reappearing in front of Meng Qi and hugging her. "Big sister Meng Qi, I've also awakened my manifestation." Long Chen's arms hung there. He awkwardly put them down while Gu Yang looked into the distance like he hadn't seen anything. "You?" Meng Qi shook her head as she hugged Tang Wana. Long Chen, are you angry?" Tang Wana finally released Meng Qi and held Long Chen's hand. "Why would I be angry? A big figure with a heaven's soul manifestation can be considered a peerless expert. Someone like that naturally doesn't care about a little person like me," sighed Long Chen. Before Tang Wana could reply, the sound of something cracking rang out. They hastily looked over to see an ice mountain fracture. Jiqiu is also coming out of seclusion. Long Chen was delighted. The ice mountains suddenly exploded, transforming into ice crystals that sparkled with all the colors of the rainbow. A jade-like figure walked out, looking like a flawless ice sculpture. Yi Jiqiu was surrounded by flying ice crystals. Before Long Chen could greet her, the vegetation on a mountain covered in greenery began to rumble. The plants there suddenly grew explosively as a vast life energy erupted. Chu Yao is also coming out. Long Chen's jaw dropped. The three of them were coming out of seclusion together. Now there would be nothing to fear. Yi Jiqiu and Chu Yao also came out of seclusion, and adding in Meng Qi and Tang Wana, they were finally together after their months of seclusion. The three of them were shocked and enraged to hear what had happened. Don't worry about it. We'll be getting our vengeance soon. When the Qi flow eruption occurs, they'll appear again, said Long Chen. Then we'll make their blood run like rivers, said Yi Jiqiu icily, an unprecedented killing intent in her eyes. Meng Qi and Chu Yao exchanged a glance, knowing that this level of rage was because of the Pill Fairy. They had thought that Pill Fairy would end up with them, so for her to betray them was unacceptable. Jiqiu, you have to control your aura more. Even if I can endure it, Meng Qi can't. Long Chen was the closest to Yi Jiqiu and was covered in frost. Her ice qi had burst out in her fury, covering the land in frost. Although Long Chen was standing in front of Meng Qi was a soul cultivator with a weak body, and she was shivering. Yi Jiqiu had awakened a heaven's soul manifestation. Although she had yet to learn its name and so she had not fully merged with it, the ice qi she possessed now was on a level that even chilled Long Chen. Sorry, I'm not quite able to control my manifestation's power, said Yi Jiqiu. I'm the same. It's a good thing that my life energy isn't affecting much, comforted Chu Yao. Where is Ruyan? Asked Long Chen. When they had gone into seclusion, Lu Ruyan had been in Chu Yao's spiritual space. It's rare for you to think about me. Lu Ruyan's voice rang out and she appeared. Wearing an old black dress, there was plenty of her white skin revealed, as well as two large mounds on her chest. Lu Ruyan stood beside Chu Yao. There was a half-black, half-white, cross-shaped petal on her forehead. Where did that come from? We're family, so how could I not think of you? Long Chen awkwardly laughed. Lu Ruyan's hostility toward him still existed, but she still listened to Chu Yao. Cloud also came over as they talked, and now that everyone was gathered, they were all excited. Tang Wana especially was excited to have awakened a heaven's soul manifestation. Feeling the immense power they now possessed, Long Chen felt much more confident. At this time, the transportation formation linking the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race's territory and the wild world could finally be activated once more. Long Chen had Meng Qi and the others all enter. They could stand guard over the wild world. However, in exchange, Li Qi and Song Mingyuan were to bring back 3,000 Dragonblood warriors and the healing warriors. That way, the Dragonblood warriors would be split half there and half here. Meng Qi could focus on capturing magical beasts, while Chu Yao, Yi Jiqiu, Tang Wana, Cloud, and Lu Ruyan could test their new power on the magical beasts and the devil race in the wild world. Originally, Meng Qi was still worried about going, but Long Chen promised that there would be no problems on his side. He told her to quickly capture some magical beasts. This time, the transportation formation they used was one way. This formation was only capable of going from the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race to the wild world, not back. The double-direction transportation formation not only cost many times the amount of resources to activate, but it also took a long time to recover from its usage. The resources weren't that important to Long Chen right now, but there was simply no time. During this time, Xia Chen had been working himself sick, never resting. It could be said that he was now the weariest member of the Dragonblood Legion. The day after Meng Qi and the others entered the wild world, Li Qi and Mingyuan brought back the Dragonblood warriors. They were very careful on their way back. The current Dragonblood Legion was extremely powerful. During the attack from the Xian beasts on the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race, Just 3,000 Dragonblood warriors had been enough to not only block a heavenly genius like Huang Fian, but also form an iron wall that blocked the Xian beasts from entering. Now that there were 3,000 Dragonblood warriors standing guard here, as well as Gu Yang, Li Qi, and Song Mingyuan, they would definitely be safe. Furthermore, this sudden attack from the corrupt path, Xian beasts, and ancient family alliance had raised the alert level of the righteous path. If they did try another sneak attack, they would not be able to catch them off guard. The righteous path would be fighting them in all-out war, and that was not what they wanted. The righteous path's sects were on high alert, with even Pill Valley promoting that sense of danger. Things looked tense, but in reality, there was no possibility of another battle. The last sneak attack had failed, and so there wouldn't be a second one. With the 6,000 Dragonblood warriors standing guard, Long Chen had 50 of the healing warriors help him refine pills. They were all powerful wood cultivators with powerful souls. Although they couldn't compare to Meng Qi and Chu Yao, due to awakening their manifestations, their spiritual strength was even stronger than ordinary alchemists. As they rotated through sending their spiritual strength into the moon and star refining furnace, the rate at which they refined pills surpassed the rate at which Long Chen could consume them. Due to the fact that the Nethergate pill's energy needed to go through the Divine Gate star, it took some time absorbing each pill. Long Chen was eating as fast as he could, but the Nethergate pills began to pile up. 10 days later, he had over 10,000 Nethergate pills. The moon and star refining furnace was growing stronger as it refined, increasing the speed. It seemed even crazier than Long Chen, not giving the healing warriors any chance to recover. Once a person's spiritual strength was exhausted, a second person would immediately step forward. Fortunately, there were enough of the healing warriors to recover as they rotated through. Otherwise, even if both Meng Qi and Chu Yao were present, they wouldn't be able to keep up with this crazy rate. Seeing that there were too many Nethergate pills, Long Chen switched to refining Life Star pills. The healing warriors continued to share their spiritual strength with the moon and star refining furnace, while Long Chen crazily ate pills. The whirlpool above his dantian was growing bigger with every passing day. When it reached a size of 9 feet and 9 inches, it finally stopped growing. The whirlpool began to condense. That was a sign that it was about to become a star. Just as Long Chen was crazily eating pills, a shadow fell across the continent. That was because on this day, a giant upheaval occurred in the interior of the Martial Heaven Alliance. The upheaval was even greater than the last time. That was because Pill Valley, the Xian beasts, the corrupt path, the ancient races, and the ancient family alliance had all indicated that Long Chen had colluded with the original devil race. They said that if the Martial Heaven Alliance continued to harbor Long Chen, they would join forces to destroy the Martial Heaven Alliance. The experts of the large powers had started gathering. As for within the Martial Heaven Alliance, there were many dissenting voices. Some of the powers loyal to the Martial Heaven Alliance also began to give rise to internal strife. Some sects even had a fight for power with new leaders coming into control. The righteous sects that had previously left the Martial Heaven Alliance and joined Pill Valley's side were especially vocal, spreading rumors left and right. However, no matter how people pressured her, Chu Jianying did not react. She seemed determined not to lower her head. The thing that made people's hearts sink was that Long Chen had not responded after the battle. He had been forced to miserably flee in the battle at the end of the Heavens Valley, then he and Emonian together had been unable to defeat Kuanpingzi. Rumors spread that Long Chen was afraid and no longer dared to be arrogant in front of the ancient era's supreme geniuses. The time of the Dragonblood Legion's domination had passed. Some people even felt that the current Long Chen wasn't even as strong as Yu Zifeng. Some even said that the Dragonblood Legion's interior had fractured, with the captains going against Long Chen. In any case, the streets were aflutter with all kinds of gossip. None of that gossip was favorable to Long Chen. The spiritual qi on the continent grew denser day by day. That signified that the qi flow eruption would occur any day. It was unknown just how many monstrous geniuses were lying in wait. What kind of fight would occur when the qi flow eruption occurred? The current Martial Heaven continent was like a volcano on the verge of erupting. It was accumulating power, filling the atmosphere with a tense air. The continent was like a bowstring growing tauter and tauter. Over half a month passed in seemingly no time at all. On this day, Long Chen came walking out of his seclusion. This nap was refreshing. Evilmoon's wild laughter rang out in Long Chen's mind. Just yesterday, Evil Moon had begun to emit spiritual fluctuations indicating that it was awakening. Evil Moon, I was really depressed without your help during this time. If you let me down again, I'll drop you in dung, warned Long Chen. Don't worry about it. I've already fully recovered. We'll hack whoever you want to hack, said Evil Moon confidently. Long Chen nodded and checked the heaven-flipping seal. It had also awoken and was currently communicating with him spiritually. It had awakened all its divine runes and knew how to use them during this time. Long Chen could finally control the true power of the heaven-flipping seal. Evil Moon and the heaven-flipping seal had awakened, filling Long Chen with confidence. After that, Long Chen walked into the plaza of the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race. The experts of the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race and the Dragonblood warriors had already gathered. Boss, now it should be time for our vengeance, right? Guo Ran stood at the front, his eyes blazing with light. Guo Ran, Xiachen, Gu Yang, Li Qi, and Song Mingyuan were all looking expectantly at Long Chen. Yu Zifeng was also standing with them quietly, an icy killing intent in his eyes. Yu Zifeng had spent half a month recuperating in the Beitang family. Learning that he had been unconscious while so many things happened had ashamed him, and now that they were moving out, he was planning on getting his vengeance. Meng Qi, Chu Yao, Tang Wan, Yu Zhiqiu, Cloud, and Lu Ruyan were also present. The Dragonblood warriors were like a sharp blade ready to launch its attack. Guo Ran is correct. This time, we're not just getting vengeance. We're fighting over the chi flow of the continent that will increase our power. We all know just how many enemies we have, so when we occupy our chi flow stream, remember this, anyone who competes with us is our mortal enemy. We cannot have the slightest mercy on them. There is no need for any compassion for them, said Long Chen. Boss, it doesn't matter if they are our enemies or just plain idiots. If they want us dead, we'll kill them, declared Guo Ran. Long Chen nodded and turned to Kei Yuzhu. She was leading 10,000 of the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race's top geniuses. Kei Yuzhu had brought them all out. She was betting the future of her race on Long Chen and on this chi flow eruption. Race leader, there might be a bit too many enemies when the time comes. Don't get angered by them. We don't want to mess up, warned Long Chen. The cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race had been hunted down by the Xian beasts for many years now, and many of their experts had died. So they could not lose control when they saw those Xian beasts. We will follow the lead of the Dragonblood Legion. None of the disciples of the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race will act out, said Kei Yuzhu. Good. Then let's move out. We'll make sure the entire martial heaven continent remembers us. Long Chen waved his hand, and the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrows transformed into their true bodies and flew out. Cloud let out a bird cry, flying at the front with Long Chen, Meng Qi, and the others standing on her back. They majestically flew out of their territory, going straight toward the Yin-Yang world. Heavens, Long Chen has come out. Countless sects and experts were startled by this display. They stared in shock at their procession. What are they doing? Are they looking for vengeance? Long Chen had been silent for a long time, even in the face of all the rumors flying around. The Pill Fairy and Kunpingzi's power had made Long Chen's reputation shrink. The Dragonblood Legion didn't disband. That rumor was nonsense, said one person upon seeing the Dragonblood Legion still in peak condition. So what? They have long since stopped being unrivaled, and Long Chen is now just a second-rate character. With so many enemies, who knows who will kill him? He's a fool for coming out, shouted another person. A golden flash of light appeared, going right past that person's ear and destroying it. Guo Ran's voice rang out from the sky. Someone like you dares to criticize my boss? Keep talking and I'll sew your mouth shut. Brainless jealousy is really annoying to listen to. That person was pale. The attack had come before he could even tell what was happening. If Guo Ran had wanted to kill him, not even 100 lives would be enough to survive. The surrounding experts jumped. The person talking was an Empyrean. Guo Ran had been flying over and managed to unleash such an accurate and controlled attack. This feat was even more difficult than a large area killing blow. No, think about it. They're probably looking for the chi flow eruption. Someone suddenly let out a startled cry. The spiritual chi in the air was now so dense that it was no different than having a spirit gathering formation active. People were saying that the chi flow eruption would most likely be in the next few days. Let's follow them. Some of the more brazen ones began to fly in that direction. But Long Chen's group was flying so fast that these people had long since lost sight of them. Flying through the clouds, Long Chen felt the entire martial heaven continent starting to shake. A surge in power appeared. The chi flow eruption is coming. Cloud, speed up, shouted Long Chen. Cloud responded. All her feathers lit up, and she shot away like a shooting star. The other cloud chasing heaven-swallowing sparrows sped up as well, following. Even the Kunping race amongst the Xian beasts would have to take second place to them when it came to speed. They quickly arrived at the entrance to the Yin-Yang world. However, the region looked different from when Long Chen had arrived. The entrance could not be seen. Are we lost? Long Chen was the first to sense something wrong. A little spirit void illusion formation thinks it can stop the Dragonblood Legion? Xiachen suddenly threw out a formation disc. A golden rune lit up like a blazing sun on it, twisting the air around it like it was water. Runic chains began to appear in the sky. Explode! The formation disc exploded, emitting a burst of golden light that fell on those runic chains. The runic chains also exploded as the golden light enveloped them. The illusion before them vanished, and they sped off once more. Xiachen began to throw more formation discs out, destroying more and more chains. Long Chen had not expected Pill Valley to have set up so many formations to hinder them from advancing. Long Chen narrowed his eyes. Now he realized why that sneak attack had occurred suddenly. Most likely, Pill Valley had noticed that he had come here previously and wanted to kill him to keep him quiet. The layers of restrictions blocking them made Long Chen smell a conspiracy. Such formations could only possibly delay them, not stop them. There were many questionable aspects about such a thing. You Xiaoyan, I can't be bothered to play chess with you. Instead, I'll flip the chessboard and we can play a different game, sneered Long Chen. Who cared about a scheme? He would crush it with absolute power. The Dragonblood Legion continued to break through the formations. Finally, the entrance to the Yin-Yang world was revealed. The entrance was still covered in mist, with a giant seal blocking the entrance. The Sovereign Seal. The Sovereign Seal was still emitting a boundless pressure. Even the Dragonblood warriors were filled with humility and respect for this Sovereign Seal. Long Chen looked at the Sovereign Seal quietly. He had previously seen Sovereign Emoli within the seal, but now the seal looked weaker. The constant attacks of the blood race on the other side had taken their toll. However, a sovereign was still a sovereign. This seal had lasted for over 100,000 years. They were truly in existence unmatched throughout history. Suddenly, the earth began to shake, and the ground split open, two giant perpendicular scars spreading past the horizon. Long Chen and the others hastily retreated in the face of it, but then a rainbow beam of light shot out of the sky. Within this beam of light, Meng Qi and the others sensed the blessings of heaven and earth. This is the Qi flow eruption, shouted Guo Ran. Following the first beam, more beams began to break out of the earth, soaring into the sky. There were actually tens of thousands of them. The beams were all different sizes and spread randomly throughout this region. In the distance, there was one particularly wide beam filled with power. We're occupying that beam. Long Chen shouted and brought his group inside it. Within the light beam, all the Dragonblood warriors and the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrows felt their astral spaces automatically absorb energy and start growing. Heavens! Their astral spaces rapidly expanded, indicating that they would have even more world energy in the future. They felt their blood being purified and their souls being cleansed. This Qi flow eruption contained the blessing of the world, and this beam contained the strongest blessing of them all. Long Chen didn't care if others grew jealous. Today, he would be occupying this largest stream. Long Chen, you traitor of the martial heaven continent, you actually led the chi flow eruption here to destroy the sovereign seal? Why are you trying to allow the blood race to invade the continent? Just a moment after they had entered their chi flow stream, other experts arrived. Pill Valley's Yu Xiaoyan had led a large group of Pill Valley's experts and immediately shouted at Long Chen upon seeing the scene. Pill Valley's people had arrived, and Yu Xiaoyun immediately interrogated Long Chen. The other experts arriving had worried expressions upon seeing that the chi flow eruption was right next to the entrance to the Yin-Yang world. There was a huge amount of power bursting out of the earth right now. If that power struck the sovereign seal, then this shield of the martial heaven continent would be blown away, and the army of the blood race would be free to invade. So Long Chen, now what can you say? Saying you colluded with the original devil race was entirely true. You are a traitor of the continent, and now everyone has seen your true face. Shouted the leader of the ancient races, Long Juansong. The Xian beasts, the ancient races, the corrupt path, the stone race, the 4 everlasting families, all the large powers of the continent were arriving. Seeing Long Chen occupying the largest stream of chi flow as well as the nearby sovereign seal, and then hearing the cursing from Pill Valley's experts, they all came to realize something. How could this be? How could Long Chen be a traitor of the Martial Heaven Alliance? Beitang Rushuang's expression changed. She didn't believe that Long Chen would do such a thing, but his current display seemed to be the greatest proof against him. There was no need for slander. At this time, the Martial Heaven Alliance also arrived, and Chu Jianying was stunned to see the Dragonblood Legion and the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race within the beam of light. Alliance head Chu Jianying, now do you have anything to say? Sneered the sect master of a sect that had left the Martial Heaven Alliance. Li Tianxian and the old man were both startled as well. Just how was it that Long Chen had known the location and time of the chi flow eruption? Furthermore, if he knew, why didn't he tell them? Long Chen, what is going on? Asked Chu Jianying. Although she was full of suspicions, she refused to believe that Long Chen was a traitor of the Martial Heaven continent. What is there to ask? Long Chen is a traitor. Chu Jianying, you foolish woman, are you still trying to quibble and protect him? Demanded an elder who had betrayed the Martial Heaven Alliance. That elder's voice was still ringing through the air when a golden arrow shot through his head, killing him in mind and body. That golden arrow had come so suddenly and was so fast that by the time people reacted, the elder was already dead. Within the light beam, Guo Ran was holding a 3-foot-long blood-colored crossbow. He coldly said, "Is our alliance head someone an opportunist like you can shout at? Do you want to try again?" There was no need to try because that person was dead and couldn't possibly make another sound. Guo Ran, you sneak-attacking trash dash. An Empyrean disciple standing behind the elder shouted at Guo Ran, summoning his awakened manifestation. As a result, Guo Ran's second arrow pierced through that disciple's shield and then blew up the disciple's body. His Yuan spirit was protected by the shield, but his physical body was destroyed. Bis dash. His Yuan spirit had only appeared for a moment before Guo Ran's next arrow exterminated him. Guo Ran, disdain shooting while hidden. Are you an idiot? My crossbow lit up, so how can it count as a sneak attack? Are you blind? Sneered Guo Ran. Long Chen, do you think martial power can silence the voices of the heroes of the Martial Heaven continent? Your sins cannot be let off this time. Dongfang Yuyang stepped forward, coldly looking at Long Chen. Long Chen, what is going on? Shouted Chu Jianying. Many experts behind her were shaken by this, and she needed to give them an explanation. Long Chen said, Alliance head, I will say one thing. Not one of us is a traitor of the Martial Heaven continent. Then how did you know the location of the chi flow eruption? The entire continent has been looked through by my people, but we didn't find it. You definitely hid it. Shouted an ancient race expert. Long Chen indifferently looked at that person. He shook his head. You and I are not related in any way. I'm too lazy to respond to your question. Turning to Chu Jianying, he said, Alliance head, this is a world where the weak are devoured by the strong. I've had enough of wasting time, trying to explain things to idiots. As for how I know the location and time of the Qi flow eruption, I can't be bothered to explain because explaining will only cause a bunch of people to refute me. People who are familiar with me know that I disdain lying and don't need me to explain. Those who don't believe me would say I'm lying no matter what I say. So why bother? We're all busy people, so don't make up fake excuses. If you want to kill me, then just come. Senior Apprentice Brother Long Chen, I believe you, shouted one of the Martial Heaven Alliance's disciples. Senior Apprentice Brother Long Chen, we all believe you. Following the first, many disciples of the Martial Heaven Alliance shouted together. A large portion of those people had fought alongside the Dragonblood Legion in the Yin-Yang world. They immediately thought of that intense fight with the entrance to the Yin-Yang world right in front of them. The Dragonblood Legion's bravery and heroism were still imprinted strongly in their minds. With Long Chen and the Dragonblood Legion here, facing the heavenly geniuses of the various powers, it felt similar to that battle from back then. People who are suspecting Senior Apprentice Brother Long Chen, are you all idiots? If it weren't for him, the Martial Heaven Alliance would have long since been destroyed by their coalition. Have you already forgotten how those greedy wolves have fractured our interior bit by bit? Shouted someone. Have you been brainwashed by Long Chen? Since he could betray the Martial Heaven continent, he could do anything. Who doesn't know how to pretend to be a good person? You coward, come out and say that in front of everyone. Since you say Senior Apprentice Brother Long Chen is a coward, you should be able to wager some blood on that, right? Come out instead of hiding in the ground. People like you are the trash of the cultivation world. You? What you? I'm giving you a chance to pretend to be a good person. Do you want it or not? Didn't you say everyone knows how to do this? Senior Apprentice Brother Long Chen risked his life time and time again to protect us. Now you slander him loudly, but become a coward when it comes time to actually take action? That's enough. Yu Xiaoyun's thunderous voice rang out, ending the shouting between the two of them. Everyone has already seen that Long Chen can't even give an explanation. This kind of play probably couldn't even trick a 3-year-old child. Now, he has occupied the largest stream of Qi flow. We should all attack together to exterminate him for the Martial Heaven Alliance. Whoever kills Long Chen will be given the largest stream of Qi flow as a reward. What does everyone think of this? I like it. It's decided. The Stone Race's Shi Lingfeng was the first to agree and shoot out, followed by over 10,000 experts of the Stone Race. Following that, the Corrupt Path Ancient Races, Shen Beasts, Pill Valley, the Ancient Family Alliance, and the other various powers also moved. Alliance Head, we trust Senior Apprentice Brother Long Chen. He is definitely no traitor of the Martial Heaven Alliance. Let's help him, shouted one disciple. Just how much has Long Chen done for the Martial Heaven Alliance? If we don't stand together with him now, are we even cultivators? Alliance Head, please give the order. The Martial Heaven Alliance must stand beside Long Chen, said one of the elders. That's right, I agree with Elder Qi's opinion. The person needs to know how to repay kindness. They can't choose to be a coward just because of some danger, said one sect leader. He was one of Chu Jianying's earliest supporters. Alliance Head, since you trust Long Chen fully, we can trust him as well. Let us fight and show the power of the Martial Heaven Alliance, said another sect leader. More and more disciples and elders spoke up in support of Long Chen. Curiously, the old man didn't say anything, instead standing quietly beside Chu Jianying. On the other hand, Bao Buping and Chang Hao weren't able to stand still. Are we fighting or not? If we are, we're going first. Bao Buping had just finished shouting when he was kicked by Boss Bao. Boss Bao glared at him and pointed stealthily to the old man. He was indicating that it was rare for the old man to be getting along well with the Alliance Head, so Bao Buping shouldn't add oil to the fire. Chu Jianying's heart was moved. After the large waves washed away the sand, what was left was the gold. These loyal members of the Martial Heaven Alliance all trusted her. Chu Jianying looked at the old man. The old man merely smiled faintly. No need to look at me. I'll listen to you. You can treat me as your subordinate. Boss Bao and the others were stunned to find that when the old man smiled, Chu Jianying actually blushed. Boss Bao and the others exchanged glances. The two of them had definitely gotten up to something romantic. However, Boss Bao and the others didn't dare to say anything. They could guess why the old man had gone from a violent tiger to a docile cat. Chu Jianying raised her hand, about to give the order to attack, when Long Chen's voice rang out. This battle belongs to my Dragonblood Legion and the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race. It is a battle to the death against the various powers who oppose us. I would ask others to not interfere. If you are neutral, then do what you came to do. If you're friends, find a place with good feng shui to watch. If you're enemies, then come at us. This is your best chance to kill me. Don't miss it. What is this brat thinking? Chu Jianying was stunned. Her hand was still hanging in the air. She didn't know whether or not she was to support Long Chen. Let's find a place with good feng shui to watch. We can occupy some good qi flow streams now. Li Tianxian looked around and saw that other powers had started occupying the strongest qi flow streams. They led their group over to a large light beam. What? Are we really just going to watch? Chu Jianying looked back at the old man and sent him a message. The old man looked at Yu Xiaoyun and the others. He replied, "It's fine. That little fellow must have the confidence to say such things. Also, do you see that Yu Xiaoyun and the others aren't joining in? We should just wait and keep an eye on them. Old against old, young against young. We'll see who loses patience first." At this time, Li Tianxian had led people to occupy a large qi flow stream. He chose a very suitable stream. It wasn't so huge that it was the most contested, but it could enter the top 10. Has there been some mistake? Are we even men? Why aren't we fighting? Demanded Bao Buping and Chang Hao. Little bastards, who do you think you're talking to? Raged Boss Bao, sending a kick their way. But they dodged. Don't think that just because you're older, we don't dare to sort you out. None of you are real men. We are life and death brothers with Long Chen, so no matter what, we're going. Declared Bao Buping. Don't take another step, or I'll break your leg, shouted Boss Bao. Just try it. Bao Buping and Chang Hao ignored him. The other disciples of the heaven-splitting battle sect shouted, "Anyone with a tool down there, follow me. We'll fight together with Long Chen." Brat, you dare? If you go, you will no longer be a disciple of the heaven-splitting battle sect. Declared Boss Bao. So what? Starting today, we're joining the Dragonblood Legion. Brothers, let's go. Bao Buping waved his hand, leading thousands of the heaven-splitting battle sect's disciples to Long Chen's side. Bastards, get back here, shouted Boss Bao. The seventh boss patted Boss Bao's shoulder, quietly saying, "That's about enough. You're not good at acting. It's so fake that I'm getting embarrassed just watching." It's true. You should say less. I'm getting goosebumps, added the fourth boss. Boss Bao almost coughed up blood. The old man was standing beside Chu Jianying now. He couldn't tell the heaven-splitting battle sect's disciples to join Long Chen, or that would be taken as not listening to orders. However, the disciples of the heaven-splitting battle sect couldn't possibly just watch considering their relationship with Long Chen. The disciples were definitely going. They just needed a reason, resulting in Boss Bao putting on an act of not being able to look after these children. But this act was a bit too fake. Bao Buping and Chang Hao brought the heaven-splitting battle sect's disciples over to Long Chen's side, but the battle had already begun. Shi Lingfeng and the Stone Race's experts were the first to arrive. Shi Lingfeng's one eye shone fiercely. Long Chen, I've mastered the Stone Emperor's divine arts. Today, I'll show you my Stone Race's true divine abilities. Shi Lingfeng smashed a fist forward. A giant fist image appeared, sparkling like a sky of stars. The Stone Emperor's paragon art, the star-falling fist. That was the paragon art that Shi Changxing created himself based on the Stone Race's bodies. Quite a few experts of the senior generation were stunned by this attack. Long Chen snorted. He was about to attack when Guo Ran stepped forward. There's no need to waste your energy on this trash, boss. I'll kill this dog. Guo Ran shot away, his body instantly becoming covered in blood-colored armor. Various runes lit up on his armor as he unleashed his own punch. Long Chen had never seen Guo Ran in this armor. It seemed that his armor had evolved greatly during this time. There were 2 small wings on his sides, as well as a curved horn on the top of his head. His shoulders were protected by 2 dragon heads, his elbows had sharp points on the ends, and there were a pair of wings on his back. The feather-like marks along his wings made them look like wings made of metal feathers. Those wings were made based on the cloud-chasing, heaven-swallowing sparrow race's wing structure because Guo Ran wanted to imitate their speed. What a dog's hit paragon art! Watch as I, Guo Ran, break it with a single punch. Who do you think you are to fight me? Face your death! Raged Shi Lingfeng, feeling insulted that Long Chen had sent a subordinate out against him. Boom! Guo Ran's fist smashed into Shi Lingfeng's attack without any flashiness. Shi Lingfeng's attack simply crumbled, unleashing a wave of ripples that made space twist. As for Guo Ran, he remained in his original location, not having been forced back a single step. He was still in his punching posture. What is going on? I didn't even see how he countered that terrifying attack. His aura fluctuations and blood chi fluctuations are practically non-existent. There's no world energy and it wasn't a magical art, so this was all the power of his armor? Is he someone from the Mechanism sect? Could it be that Long Chen's subordinate was able to master all the Mechanism sect's mechanism arts after its destruction? Guo Ran slowly stood up straight. Clasping his hands behind him, he arrogantly said, "The Stone Emperor's paragon art? If I had known it would be so weak, I wouldn't have even punched. I would have just farted and dispelled it." Long Chen silently gave Guo Ran a thumbs up inside. He was truly a marvel. That punch just now had tricked everyone. That was no punch. Guo Ran had activated a cylinder in his wrist to unleash a weapon to destroy Shi Lingfeng's attack. Long Chen felt that burst of power to be a bit familiar, and now he recalled that it was the power of the Mechanism sect's God Extermination Cannon. However, Guo Ran had somehow modified the power. It wasn't as strong as the God Extermination Cannon, but it could be activated very quickly. He liked acting and he was good at it, so it looked like he had unleashed a casual punch to destroy Shi Lingfeng's attack, shocking everyone. Long Chen had no choice but to admit that when it came to mechanisms, Guo Ran was truly a monster. But what made him speechless was that because Guo Ran liked showing off so much, he had actually made it so that when he spoke, his armor amplified his voice, making it sound even more arrogant. What a fart! Shi Lingfeng furiously stamped forward, recovering from his shock. Multiple figures of him appeared in the sky, appearing in front of Guo Ran in an instant. His speed shocked everyone. The stone race's power was renowned, but their speed was supposed to be lacking in comparison. They had never seen someone from the stone race possessing such speed. All right, as you wish. Guo Ran didn't even look at Shi Lingfeng. Lazily stretching, he turned and bent. Runes lit up on his armor as he pointed his butt at Shi Lingfeng. A powerful boom ripped through the air. A ray of divine light shot out, followed by raging flames. Shi Lingfeng couldn't even unleash his attack before he was sent flying by that explosion. He tumbled back, only stopping when he was caught by several of the stone race's experts. A powerful chi wave spread through the air. This attack's power was even greater than Guo Ran's punch. However, no one marveled at its power. Instead, they stared oddly at the ripples, some people even unconsciously covering their noses and backing up. Looking at the miserable Shi Lingfeng, they were shocked. As expected, the leader raises similar troops. No wonder the Dragonblood Legion calls Long Chen boss. The boss isn't normal, and his subordinates aren't normal either, said Beitang Rushuang within a stream of chi flow. She rolled her eyes. Was there a single normal person in the Dragonblood Legion? I can flatten you with just a fart. Now, do you believe it? Guo Ran deliberately shook his butt a few times before standing back up. Bastard! Shi Lingfeng roared. The stone race's experts that had caught him were thrown into the distance. The runes on his body suddenly split down the middle, opening like eyes, revealing crystals. Those crystals were like the stars in the sky. His runes connected to each other like chains, pulsing energy throughout his body like blood vessels. Upon taking a single step, the void collapsed. Shi Lingfeng's aura had grown explosively, and he shot at Guo Ran like a shooting star. "I'll tear you to pieces." Shi Lingfeng seemed to have become a blazing star. His arms stretched toward Guo Ran. Shi Lingfeng has gone insane. He's even offering up the qi of his true spirit. "This is equivalent to burning his essence blood," said someone heavily. The current Shi Lingfeng was displaying the greatest power of one of the ancient era's supreme geniuses. "I'll only need one hand to handle you." Guo Ran kept one hand behind him, while a blood-colored saber appeared in his other hand. In front of the berserk and powerful Shi Lingfeng, Guo Ran still appeared as relaxed as ever. The saber in his right hand lit up at the same time as the wings on his back. The light was brighter than the sun and quickly condensed into the saber. Shi Lingfeng's fist smashed into the saber, unleashing an explosion of light. Both their bodies rocked as they actually ended up even in power. Suddenly, another saber appeared in Guo Ran's left hand. Pulling back the saber in his right hand, he swung the saber in his left hand at Shi Lingfeng's waist. Sparks flew as a large cut appeared in Shi Lingfeng's body. Golden liquid flowed out of that wound, and it seemed to contain an enormous amount of spiritual qi. It should be Shi Lingfeng's blood. Shi Lingfeng roared and kicked Guo Ran, while Guo Ran blocked with his knee. The two once more separated. "Bastard, didn't you say you would only use one hand?" "Idiot, aren't I only using one hand?" Guo Ran waved the blade in his left hand. "Bullshit, you're clearly using both hands," cursed Shi Lingfeng. "After having one eye plucked out by my boss, did your other eye become blind? I clearly only used my left hand after my right hand was done. Isn't that still one hand at a time?" sneered Guo Ran. You idiot, you don't even understand this principle. Then I'll give you a display to show what's one hand and what's two hands." Guo Ran suddenly flew at Shi Lingfeng, slashing one of his sabers at him. "This is one hand." Boom. "This is also one hand." Boom. Guo Ran swung his sabers alternatively, forcing Shi Lingfeng back twice. Just at this moment, Guo Ran pressed his two sabers together. The two sabers actually merged into one, and in that instant, a terrifying pressure crashed down. Guo Ran's armor suddenly flashed, and his saber hacked down like lightning. "This is two hands." Boom. This time, Guo Ran's saber slashed partly through both Shi Lingfeng's hands. Everyone clearly saw cracks appear on his hands, and golden liquid burst out. Shi Lingfeng smashed into the ground. The sabers separated once more, and Guo Ran rested them both on his shoulders, having them form an X sign. Although they looked a bit strange, they were definitely flashy. Looking down at the ground where Shi Lingfeng was, Guo Ran lazily said, "Stone head, now do you understand? Do you know how to differentiate between one hand and two hands?" Guo Ran had actually beaten the Stone Emperor's heir into such a state, shocking everyone present. Although Guo Ran had some fame in the Dragonblood Legion, the reality was that in the eyes of the rest of the world, he was a minor figure of complete insignificance. The fact that Guo Ran relied on his armor and not his own power made other experts look down on him. They refused to acknowledge such a fighting style. Just because the Mechanism sect was arrogant didn't mean that the rest of the world acknowledged them either. They never dared to provoke true experts. In the eyes of the likes of the Everlasting Families, the Stone Race, or other powers with their own profound foundations, the Mechanism sect was nothing more than an irritating fly. Even the Mechanism sect's mechanism arts weren't important to them. They considered it a heretical path. As for Guo Ran, he was just a dabbler of that path. However, Guo Ran had now beaten Shi Lingfeng, and that was exceptionally shocking. Are his mechanism arts even greater than the Mechanism sect? But how could that be possible? People were full of questions. Was this heretical path actually so powerful? They had clearly sensed Shi Lingfeng's terrifying aura. That level of power was suffocating, but Guo Ran had easily beaten him. That was hard to believe. Is the entire Dragonblood Legion this terrifying? First Yu Zifeng killed Jian Wuchen, and now some armored, nameless freak was able to crush Shi Lingfeng. Just what is going on? Demanded one of the ancient race's supreme geniuses. Aren't they supposed to be part of a declined era? Wasn't the chi flow of the continent insufficient to give rise to more experts like us? How could such terrifying experts appear just before the chi flow eruption? Can any random member of them match a supreme genius? The Dragonblood Legion is too terrifying. Looking from Guo Ran to the bottomless hole in the ground, their hearts shook. It was no wonder Long Chen dared to be so arrogant as to occupy the strongest chi flow stream. The Stone Race's experts' expressions changed, especially their seniors who were standing at the rear. Some of them tried to charge forward as well, but they were stopped by their leader. Boom! Shi Lingfeng came charging out of the ground. His cracked arms had recovered. The earth began to shine, and the light gathered at Shi Lingfeng. Wow, not bad. You've recovered so quickly. I forgot that you stone heads are born from the earth. Guo Ran praised Shi Lingfeng, but that praise sounded more like an adult praising a child. Great earthen support, stone spirit possession. Shi Lingfeng ignored Guo Ran, letting out a furious roar. The surrounding earth radiated golden light that he absorbed. He once more charged at Guo Ran. Boom! This time, Guo Ran shuddered from the impact. Even with the protection of his armor, his arms were numb. After drinking your mother's milk, your power really is different. It looks like we can properly play now. You like to fight barehanded? Then I won't use my blades either. Guo Ran actually put away his blood-colored sabers and began exchanging punches and kicks with Shi Lingfeng. Every collision caused spatial rumbling. Sparks flew about. The sound of stone and metal clashing was very piercing. This armor of Guo Ran's is much more agile than before. It's like it's a part of him. He really has some talent in this regard. Just as Long Chen was watching Guo Ran's fight, he heard a voice ring out behind him. "Oh, Emon Yen, when did you get here?" asked Long Chen, surprised. Emon Yen had come. Emon Yen's face darkened. He cursed, "I've been here forever. When I said something, you all ignored me. Am I really so easy to overlook?" About that, I can testify that Emon Yen came before us. Bao Buping raised a hand. Only then did Long Chen see that Emon Yen had brought over 10,000 of the Mo family's disciples. Long Chen had been so focused on the sovereign seal that he hadn't noticed. With Gu Yang and the others around, he didn't need to pay too much attention to the surroundings. So when Emon Yen arrived, Gu Yang and the others had greeted him, but Long Chen hadn't even looked his way, depressing him. Had Long Chen's status grown to the point that he no longer recognized his friends? However, when Emon Yen heard Long Chen's question, he almost coughed up blood. How exactly had Long Chen simply not seen him? "Long Chen, it's been a long time." A woman standing behind Emon Yen walked forward. It really has been a long time. Lady Lu's heroic air is still the same after all these years. Long Chen laughed. This woman with her hair tied up behind her head and her slender figure was Emon Yen's fiancée, Lu Zongyi. Long Chen still remembered the first time he had encountered this woman. She had been like a fierce tiger, wanting to teach him a lesson, saying that he had misguided Emon Yen into being unfaithful. At that time, Lu Zongyi had been a celestial whose power was even greater than Emon Yen's, making him afraid of her. Later on, Emon Yen awakened a special manifestation and soared, while Lu Zongyi stayed in her old state. However, her position in Emon Yen's heart never changed. Perhaps Emon Yen had gotten so used to her beatings that he felt unwell without them. You're also not bad. After so many years, you've gotten a group of women." Lu Zongyi glared at Long Chen. "Yes, not bad. Emon Yen said he would do the same one day," said Long Chen. Fortunately, there wasn't someone as intense as Lu Zongyi amongst his women. Although Tang Waner got jealous easily, it was much better than Lu Zongyi's intense jealousy. As expected, Lu Zongyi turned her attention to Emon Yen. "You said that?" Before Emon Yen said anything, Long Chen piped up, "No, he never said that. I must have made a mistake." Seeing how fake that explanation was, Emon Yen's expression darkened. Long Chen was acting like he was covering up the truth. "Look, Guo Ran's attacking," cried Emon Yen. "All right, there are too many people here, so I'll give you some face. When we get back, you'll have to give me a perfect explanation," said Lu Zongyi quietly. Long Chen smiled brightly. Mo Nian would constantly con him when he was bored, and now Long Chen wanted to have some vengeance. All the life star experts that had come were in chi flow streams, absorbing the energy. They watched as Guo Ran and Shi Lingfeng fought. Seeing how even things were even when Guo Ran was just fighting with his fists, they concluded that it was not a fluke that Guo Ran had sent Shi Lingfeng flying at the beginning. It was true power. Long Chen, the Blood Emperor's family beauty has come. Are you interested? Mo Nian suddenly patted Long Chen on the shoulder, pointing in the distance. Long Chen followed his gesture, and his body suddenly quivered. Such a beauty actually exists in this world. In a distant stream of chi flow, hundreds of thousands of the ancient family alliance's experts had gathered. During this time, the experts of the continent had tried charging into the streams of chi flow. Any rank 9 celestial or empyrean could freely enter and receive the blessing of the chi flow. However, rank 8 celestials and below couldn't enter. They were rejected by the chi flow, so they could only absorb the chi scattered through the air. That was the difference between those blessed by the heavens and those not. Empyreans were given the meat, while the rest were given some diluted soup, and only a few drops at that. The ancient family alliance was a giant organization. As more and more of their members arrived, the number of people in their stream of chi flow swelled to over 700,000. Although the Martial Heaven Alliance in comparison was close to 10 million people at this point, the Ancient Family Alliance's group was still a spectacular sight. Within their large group, an extravagant carriage appeared. A man and woman walked out, holding hands. The beauty that Mo Nian was referring to was the woman. Meng Qi, Chu Yao, Tang Wan, and everyone's gaze immediately fell on that woman. They were all confident in their own looks, so they wanted to see what this peerless beauty looked like. However, when they saw that woman, they held back choked cries, covering their mouths. "How is she? Beautiful, right?" laughed Mo Nian. "Mo Nian, your tastes are growing heavier." Even Long Chen was shaken by this woman's appearance. She was wider than she was tall, and she was actually taller than Long Chen. From a distance, she looked like a large balloon. Her neck was non-existent. As for her head, all her facial features were scrunched up in one spot. Her eyes were two narrow slits. She tottered as she walked, her flesh trembling. It was like a mountain of meat moving. Beside her was a more conventionally attractive man. The two of them made a striking pair. "That's Difeng?" Long Chen recognized the man. It was Di Long's son. "He, so you still remember him. Difeng had a wedding just 3 days ago, and that's his wife." Mo Nian laughed delightedly. "Are you saying that she is?" "Yes, that woman is the Blood Emperor's family's top genius, the Blood Emperor's daughter, Shui Luocha." Long Chen's jaw dropped. He suddenly recalled the two descendants of the Blood Emperor that he had encountered before. When he had asked if Shui Luocha was beautiful, they had said that she was beautiful enough to eclipse the moon and shame flowers. Now he understood. Even the moon would hide upon seeing her, and flowers would turn away, too embarrassed to look at her. As Shui Luocha tottered across the ground, her arms bounced like large carrots. They swung back and forth, swinging with a waist that was indistinguishable from the rest of her body. In all of Long Chen's life, it was his first time feeling sympathy for one of his enemies. Seeing Difeng's wooden expression, the hostility Long Chen felt for him vanished. Seeing Shui Luocha, every man present involuntarily shuddered. "I never thought that Difeng was a real man before. But even such a woman doesn't satisfy him. You can tell he wants more. Tell me, Grandmaster Long Chen, can you explain why he would desire such a thing?" chortled Mo Nian. "It cannot be said in too much detail." "Then give a general explanation." "I already said, it cannot be said that she's too thin." Mo Nian looked at Shui Luocha's terrifying girth and instantly understood. He couldn't hold back another laugh. It must be hard on Difeng. This is truly a case of being too far away to help. Long Chen sighed, exchanged a glance with Mo Nian, and then the two of them laughed once more. "What are the two of you talking about?" demanded Lu Zongying lost. "Cough, we were saying that the two of them were drawn together by fate. "They're a perfect match for each other," lied Long Chen. Meng Qi and the others were red. Having experience with Long Chen's scoundrel ways, they knew he lied. Although they didn't understand completely, they could guess his general meaning. Di Feng was holding hands with Shui Luocha. His hand was enveloped by a mass of flesh. Just the sight of it was comical. Di Feng is truly blessed. He can reach just by standing there, praised Emon Yen. This time, Lu Zongying seemed to understand. Shui Luocha was tall and her chest was gigantic. Just one of them was larger than Di Feng's head. When standing still, his head was on the same level as her chest. "Emon Yen, you bastard, if you envy him so much, why don't you just go?" raged Lu Zongying. Emon Yen rolled his eyes. Lu Zongying didn't seem to be able to tell the difference between good and bad things. All he was doing was relishing in the downfall of his old enemy, and she was getting jealous. Even Tang Wanner found it funny and wasn't able to get jealous of Shui Luocha. As expected, no matter in which field, there was always someone stronger. Long Chen and Emon Yen's scoundrel-like chortling made Meng Qi and the others laugh. The two of them were top figures on the continent with countless worshippers, but now they didn't seem to possess the slightest air of supreme experts. Long Chen and Emon Yen's laughter reached Di Feng's ears. He was enraged, but he couldn't react. This was the wife that Di Long had arranged for him, and it had been impossible for him to decline. He was also a figure capable of shaking the world, but now he was being laughed at. "Husband, don't be angry. It's not healthy for you. Those two blind fellows will be killed by me in a bit," comforted Shui Luocha quietly. "Then why not just attack now? I don't want to look at them for one more second," raged Di Feng. "Husband, calm down. Now isn't the time to truly take action. Just wait a moment and watch the scene change," said Shui Luocha. By this point, it had been an hour since the Qi flow eruption had started. Practically, all the continent's experts had flown over. Those part of a faction joined their faction. Those without a faction could only occupy a Qi flow stream suitable to them. They couldn't pick a big one since they were worried about others taking it from them, while picking a small one was letting themselves down. The true power of the continent was revealed. Many powerful sects had come. Even some sects that rarely showed their faces in the ancient era had come out. The Skywood Divine Palace, the elusive Music Immortal Palace, the Divine Ice Palace, the heaven-reaching Ancient Castle, countless powerful forces had taken their own positions. Ziyen was with 8,000 of the elusive Music Immortal Palace's disciples, standing in a Qi flow stream. Every one of them was sitting cross-legged, a zither resting on their knees. Rather than competitors for the Qi flow, they seemed more like musicians waiting for a chance to perform. They had occupied a large stream, however, they didn't occupy it alone. Other powers were allowed in as long as they didn't disturb them. The seniors of the various powers had also come. However, they were unable to step into the Qi flow streams because they were not the main characters of this era. They were rejected by the Qi flow. Outside of the Divine Ice Palace's stream, Taoist Heavenly Feather was standing quietly, looking up at the sky where the Qi flow stream soared and then slowly spread throughout the continent. The senior generation of the Divine Ice Palace was standing behind her. The majority of them were women, and the faintest warmth appeared in their eyes when they saw Yi Zhiqiu. As fellow ice cultivators, they could sense her current state. Although she was now in the Dragonblood Legion, the mark of a disciple of the Divine Ice Palace was still on her. The arrival of Taoist Heavenly Feather put quite some pressure on the other seniors. She was so old that it was frightening. Her looks had been frozen in time. She still looked like a young beauty, but her name alone was able to shake the continent. Suddenly, the earth began to shake, and the rumbling in the air grew quiet. Even the Qi flow streams grew gentle. The true eruption is about to start. The bloody slaughter is about to begin as well. Taoist Heavenly Feather sighed. As the ground stopped trembling, the Qi flow streams grew gentler. However, as time passed, the aura of the heavenly Taos within the Qi flow streams grew stronger, and the spiritual Qi was more condensed. Spiderweb-like cracks covered the earth. Every crisscross became a Qi flow stream. As for the place Long Chen occupied, it was the core of all the streams. Boom. After a brief moment of calm, the second eruption came. It was 10 times stronger than before. Long Chen, this chi flow stream isn't something a trader of the martial heaven continent can occupy. Dongfang Yuyang finally took action, leading the Dongfang family's disciples over to Long Chen's chi flow stream. Following Dongfang Yuyang, several others moved. Shimen Tianxiong, Tian Xiezi, Kun Pingzi, and Shui Luocha led their people over. The real battle was about to erupt. This is a pun on a character meaning both detail and thin. This expression that means too far to be able to help is literally written as a whip that cannot reach. The character for whip can sometimes mean penis. Dongfang Yuyang and the others slowly approached. However, they were intentionally going slow. None of them wanted to be the first, so they maintained a steady speed. You insignificant character, die. Seeing Dongfang Yuyang and the others approaching, Shi Lingfeng roared. Even after fighting Guo Ran for so long, he was unable to do anything to him. A giant image appeared behind him. As a result, Guo Ran instantly felt an immense feeling of danger. Guo Ran raised both sabers in front of him and activated his full defensive power, but he was still sent flying by Shi Lingfeng's punch. He coughed up a mouthful of blood. Shi Lingfeng had summoned some kind of power that was able to injure Guo Ran through his armor. But what shocked Guo Ran more was that this foreign energy was suppressing his blood chi. The Stone Emperor's spirit? He actually summoned it. This power, this was not sovereign might, it was emperor might. There was no mistake. Shi Lingfeng was actually using the power that Shi Changsheng had left behind. Die! Shi Lingfeng unleashed a second punch, the air of an emperor fully erupting. However, this world-shaking attack was easily dodged by Guo Ran. Standing in the sky, Guo Ran nodded. Yes, not bad. Now you finally are showing some skill. You're qualified to exchange blows against boss. Work hard. I look favorably upon you. Guo Ran turned and fled. Shi Lingfeng's emperor might was affecting the circulation of his blood chi. In that kind of state, Guo Ran couldn't fight him. In any case, he had finished showing off. It was time to pack it in before he was exposed. Boss, save me. Guo Ran transmitted to Long Chen. Actually, Long Chen was already moving before Guo Ran even spoke. Split the heavens 8. Long Chen swung Evil Moon. The same old move? That Shi Lingfeng sneered, and his emperor might crashed down upon Long Chen as he smashed a fist. When the aura of an emperor was added to Shi Lingfeng's attack, it shook the very stars. Many people thought that this attack would be enough to take Long Chen's life. Evelmoon's 2 dragon marks lit up, and a ferocious aura erupted out of it. Shi Lingfeng's fist crumbled. The immense power cut apart his arm. Evil Moon rumbled, leaving a dragon cry in the air that squeezed people's souls. Shi Lingfeng let out a pained groan as he flew back. Even with his emperor might, he was defeated. Before he could recover, Shi Lingfeng's body, which was tougher than a divine item, was cut in 2 by a second strike from Long Chen's saber. His golden blood flew. Heavens! Both the senior generation and the junior generation stared in shock at Long Chen. How was it that today's Long Chen was so terrifying? His divine item is finally awake? Finally, this is the Long Chen that I know. Mo Nian nodded, seeing the air coming from Evil Moon. Last time, because Long Chen hadn't had a divine item working with him, they hadn't been able to keep Kun Pengzi behind. Now Long Chen had leaped in power. Long Chen sliced apart Shi Lingfeng's arm with his first attack, cut him in 2 with his second, and then his third attack came, his movements flowing smoothly like water. His third saber was right in front of Shi Lingfeng's head in an instant. No! The Stone Race's experts charged over, but they were too far away to help. Boom! Long Chen's saber stabbed into Shi Lingfeng's forehead. However, at that exact moment, the crystals shining on Shi Lingfeng's body went dim, and all their power gathered into a shield in front of Long Chen's saber. A powerful explosion occurred, and while Shi Lingfeng managed to escape alive, even the illusory image behind him was destroyed. Long Chen snorted and caught up to him with a single step, sweeping out his saber. Shi Lingfeng's head went flying. Now let's see how you block it. Once again, Long Chen stabbed his saber at Shi Lingfeng's head. Shi Lingfeng's incredibly tough body was cut easily by the current evil moon. After awakening, evil moon had recovered its divine power. Suddenly, a ray of light shot over from the side. Even before it arrived, Long Chen felt a sensation of mortal danger. If he wanted to kill Shi Lingfeng, he would have to take this attack. If he blocked this attack, he would lose his chance to kill Shi Lingfeng. Long Chen saw that the light was a silver shield, which had come from Dongfang Yung. He had finally taken action. The Dongfang family's priceless treasure, the Star Shield. It's a set with the Star Spear. It is said that the set was created from the metal of thousands of stars that had fallen to the land, cried out someone who recognized the origin of that shield. Long Chen had no choice but to give up killing Shi Lingfeng. His saber slammed into the shield, causing a huge explosion of divine light. It was like a star had exploded. Long Chen spun from the impact, but borrowing the force of the revolution, he kicked Shi Lingfeng's head. Shi Lingfeng's head transformed into a ray of light that charged toward the other experts rushing over. His head happened to go toward the corrupt paths people. Tian Xiezi's expression changed. If they stopped Shi Lingfeng's head with a divine item, then Shi Lingfeng would be killed. "Get out of the way," shouted Tian Xiezi. However, that head was like a cannon, and many people were unable to dodge it. It passed through the corrupt path's army, killing thousands. "Nice, well done. Be even wilder." The old man was cheering Long Chen on from amongst the crowd, while Boss Bao and the others followed along, as if they were the ones fighting. "Long Chen, I misjudged you. I didn't think you were a traitor of the martial heaven continent. You betrayed my trust. Today, I'll personally take your head to give an explanation to the martial heaven continent." Dongfang Yuyang caught his shield. With the shield in his left hand and a silver spear in his right hand, he charged at Long Chen, waves of silver light filling the air. "Give it up. When you invited me to the gathering of past and present heroes, you secretly created conflicts between me and others. Did you think I didn't know? You pretended to be a good person while secretly plotting against me. Do you think someone like that can become a sovereign? Do you think wearing white will cover up the darkness in your heart? The sovereigns were all noble and upright. A hypocrite like you will never become one," sneered Long Chen. With evil moon on his shoulder, his black clothes and hair danced in the wind. "A bunch of nonsense. Do you think anyone would believe you?" Dongfang Yuyang laughed and stabbed his spear forward. Countless spear images appeared, looking like a lotus in bloom. Every spear image contained immense power, and there were millions of them. People couldn't even tell which was the real one. A flashy trick with no real power. It's just as fake as you. Long Chen let out a casual swing of his saber. The spear images vanished, his saber having caught the real one. "I didn't expose you before because my wings hadn't grown yet and I didn't want to implicate others. But now, I've grown up, as have my brothers. Who would bother to continue playing this game with you?" Evil Moon pushed forward, and the immense power made Dongfang Yuyang take many steps back. Every step he was forced back caused the void beneath him to crumble. "Long Chen, you colluded with the original devil race and you still dare to talk like this? You're too wildly arrogant. I, Shimen Tianxiong, will handle you." Long Chen had just forced back Dongfang Yuyang when Shimen Tianxiong arrived, a blood-colored saber in his hand emitting a ferocious aura. A tiger cry rang out. It's the Shimen family's 5-tiger heaven-breaking saber. People's hearts shook. As expected, everyone had come prepared. Even ancient inherited divine items had been brought, items that hadn't seen the light of day in thousands of years. Just this is wildly arrogant? Then you haven't seen the rest of the world. You have yet to see my wildly arrogant side. With just a light block, Long Chen locked Evil Moon against Shimen Tianxiong's saber. He was able to freely control his power, going from fierce to soft as he pleased. Evil Moon had grown much stronger after awakening, and Long Chen could control it easier as well. They no longer needed to fight while being careful about every little bit of power they used. The current Evil Moon was like a part of him, giving him a feeling of a tiger that had been given wings. Shimen Tianxiong's arms bulged as his power crazily grew and he pressed forward. However, Long Chen continued to block him with just one hand. all of Shimin Tianxiong's power was unable to rattle him in the slightest. Do you want to know what real wild arrogance is? Long Chen asked Shimin Tianxiong. With just one hand holding Evil Moon, Long Chen was able to stop Shimin Tianxiong. No matter how Shimin Tianxiong tried, he was unable to shake Long Chen. To block the supreme genius of an everlasting family with just one hand, was that not wildly arrogant? Long Chen smiled coldly. His voice resounded throughout the battlefield. The true wildly arrogant people here are all of you. You're so arrogant as to believe that whatever you say is an imperial decree, that whatever you say is true, that anyone who goes against you deserves death, that all others must bow to you, that even if you farted, others would have to cheer and say it smelled amazing. What is wild arrogance? This is wild arrogance. You don't care about right or wrong, true or false. For personal profit, you can ignore the truth and attack me, ignoring the value of other people's lives, trampling over other people's dignity. Long Chen's voice resounded through the air. Although he usually ignored how others vilified him, that didn't mean that he didn't get angry. He was human and he had feelings. Hence, now his fury was erupting. So, I'm not the one who's wildly arrogant, it's all of you. It's not as if you're not allowed to be arrogant, but remember this, don't be arrogant in front of me because you aren't qualified. I am a specialist in killing wildly arrogant people. Boom. Long Chen's divine ring suddenly appeared behind him. Shimin Tianxiong felt a terrifying burst of energy, and he was sent flying. Scram! Long Chen's saber slashed behind him, blocking a lightning halberd. A wild burst of power unfurled, and Kun Pengzi was sent flying. What? Kun Pengzi was sent flying? Has Long Chen gotten so much stronger in this short time? Startled cries rang out. It was understandable that Dongfang Yuyang and Shimin Tianxiong had been blocked. They hadn't summoned their manifestations because as people with status, they were unwilling to be the first ones to unleash their full power when Long Chen was clearly holding back. However, just now, Kun Pengzi hadn't cared about such things and had summoned his Kunpeng manifestation. But even with his lightning halberd, he had been sent flying. Before this, even with Emon Yen and Long Chen joining hands, they had been unable to keep Kun Pengzi behind. However, now Kun Pengzi was instantly forced back. Long Chen's divine ring caused the world to tremble. A faint blue color had appeared within the originally five-colored divine ring. Although it was still very faint, it truly made it so that this was no longer a five-colored divine ring, but a six-colored divine ring. The six-colored divine ring filled heaven and earth. A will that looked down on the 9 heavens appeared, a will that shook countless experts. Just when did this little brat get so powerful? Demanded Chu Jianying, shocked and delighted. Hee, our heaven-splitting battle sex children can't be weak. Ah, of course there was also the contribution of the Xiantian Dao sect, hastily added the old man. Li Tianxian merely smiled. This is all Long Chen's own efforts. It doesn't have much to do with the Xiantian Dao sect. Your way of nurturing him was much more important. Of everyone present, only Li Tianxian knew Long Chen's secrets. If heaven defiers didn't have the power to defy the heavens, then they wouldn't be heaven defiers. What Li Tianxian said was the truth. In truth, the actual help that the Xiantian Dao sect had given Long Chen wasn't much. The main thing was that the Xiantian Dao sect didn't have anything that Long Chen needed. In comparison, the heaven-splitting battle sect's 9 forms of split the heavens had been much more beneficial. Due to not having anything Long Chen needed, all Li Tianxian had been able to give Long Chen was his freedom. He was free to do what he wanted with their full support. Li Tianxuan's humility made it so that the old man was too embarrassed to be too pleased. On the other hand, Boss Bao and the others were cheering loudly. Kun Pengzi's expression changed. It had only been a month. How had Long Chen's power risen by so much? Kunpeng Voidbreaker, Raging Lightning Slash. Kun Pengzi roared. The Kunpeng within his manifestation spread its wings, and endless lightning exploded, entering his halberd. He once more attacked Long Chen. Last time, I couldn't do anything to you because I didn't have the power of a divine item. I could only use my own power to block your divine item. Today, Evil Moon is awake and I'm no longer fighting alone. Do you think you can still show off? Long Chen had no intention of dodging Kunpengzi's full-force attack. The void rumbled as a giant black saber image tore into the sky. Boom! The saber image crashed down like a river of stars, blasting apart the field of lightning around Kunpengzi and striking his halberd. This time, blood dripped out of Kunpengzi's mouth as he was once more sent flying. What power! Little brother, you're pretty handsome too. Let's see if you can receive an attack from me. A coarse woman's voice rang out. A black shooting star shot through the air. Shui Luocha was also joining in, and she held a giant meteor hammer in her hand. Spikes grew out of the hammerhead. Long Chen once more swung Evil Moon, but he was startled to find that this meteor hammer was incredibly heavy, as if it was made of a star. He was forced back several steps before stabilizing. Oh, how amazing! You are actually able to block my shadow meteor hammer. You should know that this hammer was my father's and was created by plucking astral metal from outside the world. For someone with such a small and weak-looking body, you have quite some power, little brother. What do you think about marrying me? Shui Luocha smiled brightly at Long Chen, revealing her bloody mouth. Her smile did not improve her looks. I think you should find Emo Nian for that instead. His taste is heavier, said Long Chen, a chill running down his spine at the thought. Emo Nian cursed Long Chen in the crowd to express his innocence. Little brother, are you laughing at me for being fat? Shui Luocha looked at Long Chen resentfully. No, not fat. Wide, corrected Long Chen. Fine. Don't blame me for being ruthless and smashing you to bits. Shui Luocha's expression instantly changed, and the meteor hammer flew through the air at Long Chen. Shui Luocha's power was truly terrifying. The meteor hammer caused the void to explode wherever it passed. Shui Luocha is the result of the Blood Emperor's blood mixing with the demon race. Not only has she inherited the Blood Emperor's power, but she also has the body of a demonic beast. Apparently, the fatter she is, the greater her power. It is said that no one in this world is capable of receiving her attack with just pure power, said one expert. Shui Luocha was a true monster, a monster that could no longer be called human. Boom! Evil Moon hacked down like a bolt of lightning. Without any flashiness, Long Chen blocked Shui Luocha's blow. Lightning flashed beneath his feet, and he appeared right next to Shui Luocha, slashing his saber at her jaw. Normally, this attack would be aimed at his opponent's neck, but Shui Luocha didn't have a neck, so he just estimated. How vicious! You actually want to cut off my neck? Shui Luocha let out a strange cry. It sounded like she was trying to sound like a cute damsel in distress. She raised her fleshy arm to block Evil Moon. Evil Moon actually bounced off. At some point, a protective bracelet had appeared on her wrist, and Long Chen's attack had landed on it. Unexpectedly, it was also a priceless treasure. Long Chen's expression didn't change. He sent a kick to her face. At such close range, her giant hammer was ineffective. Shui Luocha blocked with her arms, hence, Long Chen's kick landed on her flesh. He felt like he had landed on cotton, and a portion of his power dissipated. However, Shui Luocha was still forced to step back, giving her a chance to counterattack. But Long Chen appeared behind her, slashing with his saber. Shui Luocha didn't look back. She pulled on her meteor hammer and was dragged forward by its weight, avoiding Long Chen's attack. Although Shui Luocha looked plump like a meat mountain, her movements were very agile. Despite that, Long Chen's rapid movements didn't give her a chance to unleash her power. Are you competing in a martial tournament? Why waste everyone's time? Tian Shizi suddenly took out a giant tower that shattered the sky. It smashed down toward Long Chen. Be suppressed. The corrupt god ancient tower. Chu Jianying's expression changed. That was a famous weapon of the corrupt path. She was worried Long Chen would not be able to hold out against it. No need to worry. That evil moon in Long Chen's hands is very powerful as well, said the old man. When the corrupt god ancient tower appeared, the hearts of the Martial Heaven Alliance's experts clenched. They also felt endless hatred. Who knew just how many of the heroic spirits of the righteous path had been sucked into the corrupt god ancient tower over all these years? Those heroic spirits had been their ancestors. Their souls had been sucked away and were now used like slaves. This was the corrupt weapon that the righteous path hated the most. Even Shui Luocha was caught in the range of the corrupt god ancient tower. However, the only one it locked onto was Long Chen. Light enveloped Long Chen, sealing the space around him and separating it from the rest of the world. Shui Luocha immediately exited that light, leaving only Long Chen within it. Be suppressed. Tian Xiezi let out a shout. The corrupt god ancient tower crashed down on Long Chen. Long Chen's movements were 10,000 times slower than normal within this light. He was unable to escape it. Get in. Everything went very smoothly, but Tian Xiezi didn't overthink it. After all, this was the weapon of the first-generation corrupt god. Once Long Chen was sucked in, the only way he would be leaving was as a puppet. Light flashed. Suddenly, Long Chen's figure appeared within the bone tower. Chu Jianying cried out, "Quick, the martial heaven virtue tablet dash." It's too late. But don't worry, don't you see how calm Long Chen is? The old man stopped Chu Jianying. Only then did Chu Jianying notice that Long Chen didn't appear nervous at all within the corrupt god ancient tower. He did it on purpose? It seems so. The old man also wasn't sure. Long Chen's guts were too big. The corrupt god ancient tower repeatedly flashed. Long Chen was originally on the bottom level, but after several flashes he appeared on the top level. When he appeared on the top level, the corrupt god ancient tower compressed, and people were able to see that it was imprisoning Long Chen on it. Everyone's gazes were focused on Long Chen. The Martial Heaven Alliance's people were worried, while the neutral experts only felt pity. The corrupt god ancient tower was famous. Anyone who entered wouldn't be able to leave alive. No one throughout all its history had escaped from it. Only the people who wished to see Long Chen die cheered, as if Long Chen's death was a blessing to them. The sad thing was that the people cheering weren't from the corrupt path. They weren't from the Xian beasts or the ancient races either. Instead, they were coming from the righteous experts who had betrayed the Martial Heaven Alliance. Long Chen smiled. From the corrupt god ancient tower, he saw those people cheering. You cheering fellows, just how many of you truly want me to die? Those people instantly fell silent. They couldn't look at Long Chen. His contributions toward the righteous path were clear. Others could cheer, but they couldn't. Long Chen indifferently smiled. You don't actually want me to die. You just want to express your loyalty to Pill Valley. To tell the truth, I don't hate you. I feel like you're very pitiable. You don't even know why you cultivate. You've not only lost a cultivator's dignity, but you've lost what it takes to be human. However, just because you're pitiable doesn't mean I can forgive betrayal. This is my last time advising you to use your heads. Think about why you want to live and why you cultivate dash. Shut up. Tian Xiezi cut him off. You're already facing death, but you're still in the mood to advise others? Long Chen, to tell the truth, you're too stupid. The corrupt god ancient tower was personally created by the first-generation corrupt god with his own bones. There are millions and millions of souls imprisoned inside. Now it's even stronger than during the era of the first-generation corrupt god. No matter what trump cards you have, they'll all be useless. You will die, your soul will be refined, and all your power will be absorbed by the corrupt god ancient tower. Is Long Chen really in trouble? Asked one of the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrows. They were all getting uneasy with how confident Tian Xiezi was. What a joke! Who do you think my boss is? This bone tower can't imprison him. Guo Ran was even more confident than Tian Xiezi though. In his heart, Long Chen was unrivaled. Not even a god could defeat him. Just as everyone was looking at him, Long Chen said, "It looks like we're both very confident. Then let's see whose confidence is more correct." Long Chen stabbed Evil Moon down into the bone tower, causing it to shudder. No need. You'll definitely be the one to die. Corrupt god summons, 10,000 ghosts come to life. Tian Xiezi formed hand seals, causing the bone tower to activate. One giant skull after another appeared, ghost fire burning within them. They flew at Long Chen from every level. Their wails were like needles stabbing into people's ears. This is spiritual attack, the life-seizing ghost wail. It's one of the corrupt path's paragon arts that directly attack people's yuan spirits, shouted one of the righteous path's elders through the wailing. Most terrifying of all was the thought that the wailing was coming from inside the tower. Long Chen had to be facing 10 times what they were. Even a third-step nether passage expert would have their yuan spirit crumble in the face of that. It was no wonder Tian Xiezi was so confident. The wailing continued endlessly. The skulls wailed as they charged at Long Chen. When they got close, they exploded, unleashing immense power. What explosive power! It's almost equivalent to a full-strength attack from a third-step nether passage expert. The physical body is being attacked along with the soul. That's a death sentence. Everyone was personally witnessing the power of the divine item created by the first-generation corrupt god. No wonder no one had survived it. Long Chen, show me how long you can last, sneered Tian Xiezi. Long Chen was surrounded by lighting. His saber was still stabbed into the floor below him. He was like a boulder, unmoving in the face of the wailing and explosions of the skulls. Everyone saw that Long Chen was managing to endure, but no matter what, his power was limited. There was no way he could compare to the vast stores of energy that the corrupt god ancient tower had accumulated over countless years. How long can I last? I suppose 2 or 3 years should be no problem, said Long Chen lazily, his voice passing through the wailing. Your mouth's still tough. First, try to last more than an incense stick's worth of time, said Tian Xiezi, completely confident. The corrupt god ancient tower began to unleash more skulls, their auras even stronger than before. The people outside were no longer able to endure it. They activated the defenses of their divine items. Some people even set up formations to isolate themselves. I already told you, 2 or 3 years would be no problem. But my time is precious, so I don't want to waste so much of it. Be careful. I'm going to break your tower. Long Chen's voice once more rang out. Boom. The bone tower suddenly shook, and a majestic dragon cry rang out. 2 black dragons appeared around the bone tower, binding it. Those 2 black dragons emitted an evil aura. They clenched the bone tower so hard that it creaked. Is that the dark evil dragon of the era of legends? The most sinister of all the evil dragon races, the dark evil dragon race that lives to slaughter and consume lives. Some people recognized the 2 dragons from ancient carvings of times long past. Thinking of those legends, they were shocked. How could something from the era of legends appear now? No, it's not a true physical body. It's condensed from spiritual strength, cried someone. There was no bloodline pressure present with those 2 dragons. Tian Xiezi, release Long Chen. He definitely has some sinister move up his sleeve. Xie Wentian's expression suddenly changed. Tian Xiezi was also getting a bad feeling. He formed hand seals, trying to expel Long Chen, only to find that he couldn't with the 2 black dragons binding the bone tower. Boom. The bone tower suddenly returned to its giant form. From within, Long Chen's laughter rang out. I was waiting just for this. Evil Moon, it's up to you. The corrupt god ancient tower was forced into its original giant size. A black pillar of light shot out of its roof. All of a sudden, the sky turned dark. Black chi filled the world, and a sinister howl grew louder. Black chi continued to spurt out of the corrupt god ancient tower. Meanwhile, Long Chen kept a tight hold on Evil Moon even as it stabbed into the bone tower. It was like it had taken root. It's easier to invite the devil in than to kick the devil away. Do you think that I, Long Chen, am someone you can suck in and expel as you please? The 2 black dragons binding the bone tower grew larger with the bone tower. Their immense power was crushing it. Hee, my luck really is good. I get such a feast as soon as I wake up. Long Chen, you have some skill. Evil Moon chortled delightedly. Countless black roots shot out of Evil Moon, spreading throughout the bone tower, crazily absorbing the bone tower's energy. The corrupt god ancient tower was a corrupt weapon used for slaughter. It was quite similar to Evil Moon. Although their power didn't come from the same source, Evil Moon was able to transform that energy. To it, This energy was a mouth-watering piece of meat. As soon as the corrupt god ancient tower had appeared, Evil Moon had asked Long Chen to think of a way to enter. As a result, they really had easily entered. No! Tian Xiezi's expression changed. He could sense Evil Moon absorbing the corrupt god ancient tower's essence. He would never have dreamed that Long Chen was capable of such a thing. Tian Xiezi roared, "Get out!" Tian Xiezi's manifestation appeared behind him, and a figure manifested within it. It was like a god, bringing with it a god's pressure. Tian Xiezi had summoned his own heaven's soul manifestation. That huge figure was just as tall as the bone tower. It stretched out its arms and rested its hands on the tower. The bone tower rumbled, and the two dragon figures binding it exploded. Damn, what powerful god energy! No, I want to eat more! Shouted Evil Moon. 10,000 black chains shot out of Evil Moon, piercing through all the levels and absorbing energy. Long Chen's hold on Evil Moon was starting to grow tumultuous, but he still refused to let go. Xie Wentian took action. A black hand flew into Tian Xiezi's manifestation. He was sending his own power to Tian Xiezi. Attack together. However, Tian Xiezi found that even so, he was unable to force Long Chen out. Hundreds of thousands of corrupt experts gathered their energy and sent it into the corrupt god ancient tower. They prostrated themselves, chanting something. With the full support of the corrupt path, the corrupt god ancient tower lit up. Evil Moon was no longer able to endure it and was sent shooting out. Evil Moon and Long Chen shot out the roof. The chains that had shot out of Evil Moon now had fragments of the bone tower stuck to them like roots with soil still stuck to them. Has there been some mistake? Even like this, you can't kill it? Raged Long Chen. He had thought that Evil Moon would be able to directly destroy the corrupt god ancient tower, but now he found that it was just bragging once more. As always, Evil Moon was not dependable. Are you joking? I've been refined into a weapon. My power depends on your power. If I still had my physical body, these ants would have been devoured by one gulp from me. But you refuse to use your full power, so just relying on myself, being able to do so much is not bad. Don't get mad. Let me tell you, that corrupt god ancient tower really was something good. I got away with almost half its core energy and I feel even stronger. It won't be able to pose any threat to you any longer, laughed Evil Moon. As they flew through the air, the chains vanished, sucked into Evil Moon. Long Chen raised it. Split the heavens 8. Boom. The giant bone tower was badly damaged by this attack from Long Chen. Having had its energy sucked away, its defensive power had dropped dramatically. Countless bits and pieces of it flew through the air. The corrupt god ancient tower shrank back down and flew into Tian Xiezi's palm. There was a long scar on it now. Tian Xiezi let out a heaven-shaking roar. Long Chen, you deserve 10,000 deaths. Tian Xiezi put the bone tower away. It was temporarily unable to fight. Its injury was an insult to the entire corrupt path. Tian Xiezi took out a soul-summoning banner. Black arrows shot out of it. Every arrow had sinister runes within it howling like devils. Long Chen slashed Evil Moon again, blowing apart the arrows. But those runes within them continued to fly toward him like spiderwebs. This is the corrupt god's curse. Several of the senior righteous experts recognized those runes. They had once encountered such curse runes when fighting the corrupt path. Once those runes infected your body, then it didn't matter what your cultivation base was, you would feel like insects were devouring your Yuan spirit. The pain was indescribable. It was said that this technique contained the corrupt god's resentment. It contained a god's will, so it wasn't something a mortal could block. Once their will was suppressed, the curse would erupt. It was said that every one of these curse runes was refined from the soul essence of an expert. They were tortured before death, and their hatred and resentment were contained within the runes. Curses? Children's play. Lightning exploded out of Long Chen's body, containing immense destructive power. His divine lightning made those curses vanish silently. This is heavenly punishment lightning. Long Chen is actually able to control tribulation lightning? Furthermore, its aura is the same as the dragonization tribulation he had to go through. Could it be, last time, Long Chen had gone through his tribulation at Heavenly Fate Island? His terrifying dragonization tribulation had left a deep impression on people. It was called history's strongest heavenly tribulation. People instantly thought of the dragonization tribulation when they sensed this lightning. People had already guessed that Long Chen possessed the heaven-defying ability to absorb heavenly tribulation lightning for his own use. Heavenly tribulation was condensed from the will of the heavenly Daos. It represented the highest law of the world. As for some curse runes, they were nothing. Seeing that Tian Xiezi was suppressed by Long Chen, Dongfang Yuyang shot over, stabbing his spear through Long Chen's lightning domain. The silver shield in Dongfang Yuyang's left hand unleashed a wave of silver that forced back Long Chen's lightning. Long Chen blocked Dongfang Yuyang with his saber. Hence, the two of their weapons locked together. They were only a few feet from each other. Why not use your true ability? Are you afraid of exposing your status? Long Chen's gaze was as sharp as a falcon. That would depend on whether you have the ability. Dongfang Yuyang didn't speak, instantly transmitting a spiritual message. The shield in his left hand bashed toward Long Chen's head. All right, then I'll beat out your true self. Long Chen snorted and pushed Evil Moon, dodging Dongfang Yuyang's shield attack. He then attacked once more, not giving Dongfang Yuyang any breathing room. Dongfang Yuyang retreated and Long Chen advanced. Long Chen slashed his saber once more. This time, his attack contained the leftover power of his previous strike, increasing its power. Dongfang Yuyang was forced back again. Dongfang Yuyang suddenly had a bad feeling. Long Chen was using a chain technique, with each attack adding the power of the previous attacks. His attack was growing stronger. Dongfang Yuyang wanted to interrupt the chain, but Long Chen didn't give him the chance. His saber came slashing toward Dongfang Yuyang again. This is, Bao booping and the others saw it clearly. This chain attack was clearly split the heavens. The first form, the second form, the third form, haha, this little fellow is a genius madman. He doesn't just dare to think of crazy things, he also dares to do them. Laughed the old man. Old man, can his body endure that kind of energy superposition? Asked Boss Bao. This kind of technique was definitely crazy. The cultivation world did have techniques that allowed one's power to superimpose like this, but the maximum was 3 layers. Any more was meaningless. 3 was the peak. If it was possible to add power beyond that, then it would mean that the first attack was so weak that it was meaningless. Reaching the peak in 3 blows perfectly accorded with the tempo of the heavenly Daos, but even then, that was only suited to certain magical arts and battle skills. It did not suit the 9 forms of Split the Heavens. The 9 forms of Split the Heavens required activating certain acupuncture points. The first form required 9 acupuncture points, while the second form required 18. That meant reactivating the first 9 acupuncture points. The first 9 acupuncture points would already be full of spiritual yuan before the second attack came, so there was no way people could survive the superimposition of all the 9 forms. The acupuncture points would explode. A 3-layer superimposition was impossible. But Long Chen had already reached his 5th attack, and the power was continuing to overlay. Although others might not be able to tell, those familiar with the 9 forms of Split the Heavens like the heaven-splitting battle sex disciples could tell just how crazy Long Chen's current actions were. The old man said, actually, the 9th form of Split the Heavens involves combining the 9 forms into one. Impossible! Isn't that suicide? Exclaimed Boss Bao. That's why we need the assistance of the heaven-splitting divine tablet. Without it, the heaven-splitting battle sect is like a toothless, clawless tiger, said the old man, becoming gloomy. The heaven-splitting divine tablet had yet to recover. Just at this moment, a giant saber image appeared in the sky. Even the chi flow in the sky was blasted away. It was possible to see the stars in the sky quivering. He actually did it. Boss Bao and the others' jaws dropped. A giant saber tore into the sky and slashed down. Although Dongfang Yuyang had done his best to stop Long Chen from accumulating power, this attack was still unleashed. This saber caused heaven and earth to change color. Dong Fengyang was completely locked down. The space around him had been frozen by divine power. Either counterattack or die, sneered Long Chen. You truly are very powerful. But you're far from enough to kill me, said Dong Fengyang with a cold smile. Suddenly, a giant ancient castle appeared in front of Dong Fengyang. The Dongfang family's war castle, the astral ancient castle. This ancient castle was where the gathering of past and present heroes had been held. It was a war fort, capable of both offense and defense. It was a super treasure amongst divine items. Boom! Divine light flowed out of the castle, and stars flickered within the light. As a result, Long Chen was forced back, almost spitting blood, while the ancient castle smashed into the ground, leaving a giant ditch. He even sent such a giant and heavy divine item flying. Just how powerful is that saber in Long Chen's hands? All those with any comprehension of how powerful the astral ancient castle was were stunned. This little fellow only seems to get more amazing. Rushuang, I'm being serious. If you still don't make a move, it'll be too late. The Beitang family's master transmitted a message to Beitang Rushuang, who was within a stream of qi flow. She was playing matchmaker between Long Chen and Beitang Rushuang. What's so amazing about him? I'm not inferior to anyone, and I won't depend on anyone either. You want to marry me off? Beitang Rushuang directly rolled her eyes at her grandma. She had her own pride. It was impossible for her to share a man with others. Although that was what she said, Long Chen's current display of power had truly shocked her. Heaven and earth shook as the qi flow streams began to grow gentle once more. The third eruption is about to start. This is the final eruption. Everyone, you must use this chance to charge through your bottlenecks and advance as much as possible. An expert from the senior generation gave the disciples a reminder. The third eruption was the most important one. This was the best moment to break through their shackles and push their realms as high as possible. It was also the moment that all these heavenly geniuses were waiting for. Advancing within the qi flow stream had no limits. All bottlenecks became loose and easy to break through. Furthermore, no matter how many levels you advanced, with the qi flow supporting you, there wouldn't be the slightest sign of your foundation growing unstable, nor could you be bedeviled. Attack together to kill everyone within the largest qi flow stream and occupy it. Otherwise, it'll be too late. A fierce light appeared in Dong Fengyang's eyes. The ancient castle hovered above his head, sprinkling divine light around him. The others hadn't expected Long Chen to be so powerful. If this continued, they would waste their chance to absorb qi flow. That wasn't worth it. Ignore Long Chen. Let's kill the Dragonblood Legion, the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race, and Mo Gate's disciples. Kuan Pingzi agreed. Wasting time on Long Chen wasn't worth it. It was better to kill the others. They couldn't let just Long Chen stop them. Kill! Following Kuan Pingzi, the disciples of the Xian beasts charged over to the Dragonblood Legion. Cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race, you traitors are finally about to face your fate. Come out and face your deaths, shouted Huang Fian. At the same time, the giant Shui Luocha charged over with her meteor hammer, while Di Feng shouted, leading the ancient family alliance's disciples into an attack. Tian Xiezi waved his soul-summoning banner, and the corrupt god ancient tower appeared above his head once more. Although it was injured, it could assist him. After that, he sent the corrupt path's army charging forward. The ancient race's disciples followed the Xian beasts, keeping close behind their butts as they charged. Brother Shiman, what are you still hesitating for? The competition of the heavenly Daos will not allow you to pass your responsibilities to others. Long Chen is trying to destroy the continent. What are you waiting for? Shouted Dong Fengyang to Shiman Tianxiong upon seeing him conflicted. Shiman Tianxiong had come alone. He had not brought the people of the Shiman family into this unclear fight. They were in a qi flow stream. Hearing what Dong Fengyang said, Shiman Tianxiong shouted at Long Chen, Long Chen, answer me. Are you colluding with the original devil race to destroy the martial heaven continent? Don't you have your own brain? Responded Long Chen. How was he supposed to answer this question? Yes, he was colluding with the original devil race, but he had never thought about destroying the Martial Heaven Alliance. The matter of the original devil race had not been resolved yet, so he didn't want to talk about it. Since every person had their own brain, they could decide the truth for themselves. If he did try to explain, then Dongfang Yuyang would immediately retort. There were more mouths on their side, so Long Chen had Shimen Tianxiong make his own decision. You don't even dare to respond directly. As expected, you really are colluding with the original devil race. Then don't blame me for being vicious. Shimen Tianxiong waved his hand. Tens of thousands of disciples from the Shimen family charged over. Master, what do we do? Asked Yi Lingshan. There were millions of experts charging toward the Dragonblood Legion now. The million disciples of the Martial Heaven Alliance were also tense. They were just waiting for the order. This showed the immense foundation of the Martial Heaven Alliance. Despite almost half the sects betraying the Martial Heaven Alliance, they still had over 1 million elite life star disciples. If those sects had not betrayed them, then the Martial Heaven Alliance would have at least half the continent's talented disciples. Alliance head, we're all prepared. We just need your order, shouted one disciple. The disciples who were still standing on the side of the Martial Heaven Alliance were all loyal and fearless, willing to fight alongside Long Chen. Brothers, thank you. My Dragonblood Legion temporarily doesn't need your help, but when we do, we will definitely call for you. The Dragonblood Legion tightened its formation, forming a circular arc. The disciples of the Mo family were present with arrows nocked. Meanwhile, the heaven-splitting battle sect's disciples were holding their broadswords, cool and indifferent in the face of the giant army before them. These are the men of the heaven-splitting battle sect. Seeing the expressions on his disciples' faces, the old man smiled. For the first time, he felt that these children had finally become real men. The cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrows had also set up a tight formation that corresponded with the Dragonblood Legion's current formation. Seeing their enemies getting closer, they began to accumulate energy. Long Chen stood in the sky and seemed to be ignoring the armies of the Shen beasts, Corrupt Path, Ancient Races, Ancient Family Alliance, Dongfang family, and the Shimen family. The only ones that Long Chen blocked were the experts of Pill Valley. More accurately, he was blocking the Pill Fairy. The Pill Fairy was leading tens of thousands of Pill Valley's disciples. She stared coldly at Long Chen, a water-like flame gradually growing out of her. Long Chen didn't look at the Pill Fairy. He stared at a beautiful young lady behind the Pill Fairy. He still remembered her. "Do you want to greet your big brother, San?" asked Long Chen, smiling slightly. "Big brother San, you still remember Wan Qing?" The young lady's voice trembled. Tears fell from her eyes. Long Chen smiled and walked forward. Pill Valley's disciples raised their weapons and summoned their manifestations, on full alert. Long Chen walked right past the Pill Fairy. He didn't look at her, and the Pill Fairy didn't move. He walked right up to Wan Qing. "You've gotten taller and bigger. You've gotten more beautiful as well. But you still haven't gotten rid of this crying habit of yours. Have you run into any difficulty in alchemy?" Long Chen gently wiped away her tears. That action was the same as when they had first met. "Big brother San." Wan Qing suddenly hugged Long Chen and began to truly cry. "Why? Why is it like this? You two were so good together, accompanying me. I never felt so blessed. Why have you ended up as enemies? Why can't I change anything, why?" Wan Qing's tears burst forth as she wept. In her heart, Long Chen and Pill Fairy were a natural pair, but now they were mortal enemies. Because of this, her heart felt like it was being torn in two. She was filled with grief and fear that swamped her other emotions. The army of the various large powers had surrounded Long Chen. They had all found their own attack angles. The atmosphere was tense. With just one person's orders, a full force assault would be launched. However, they were surprisingly quiet. There was only the low sound of the chi flow streams and the heart-wrenching cry of Wan Qing. "Big brother San, please, can't you all stop fighting? If I see any one of you die, I would rather die myself." Her crying showed her desire for peace, for a simple life. A life without slaughter, without fighting. But everyone knew that was just a beautiful dream, impossible to realize. Long Chun sighed and gently patted her back. A stream of energy then flowed from him, making her faint. After that, he waved his hand, sending her floating to the elders from Pill Valley. He had used his own special method to seal her spiritual strength. It would take at least a day for her to awake. Long Chun finally turned to the Pill Fairy, walking in front of her. There's no need for extra words. Today, let's have a battle to the death to settle all our grudges. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.